Alright, so we're going for week 2, and that is 16 Jan. So week 1 we had an introduction, we talked about the labs as well, and week 2 we need to get into the action. So there's the VCP 7.0 lab setup, and we're gonna keep talking about all the topics while we go ahead. But our lab setup, as I may have explained last time, and did I create a diagram last time? And if I had, yeah, well, not this one. Oh yeah, so that complete mess is that diagram that I'm referring to. And yes, okay. Copy, I'll paste it first of all here. Okay, I'll just go for another page. So this is the lab here, 4 machines. Now, well, I'll just keep this diagram here and I'll start creating our machines that we will be now creating. And what's the purpose of that? I have already mentioned that in previous class, but we'll have a brief revision of that too. So we're going to be creating 4 machines now, and one of them would be the Windows 2016 VM, and should have gone for 2019, but anyway. So this machine would be having our infrastructure roles as we discussed last time, so we're going to start creating that. We don't really need Active Directory for VMware to work, but we'll install it for when just need to check that how to connect the Vcenter, which is a centralized application around which the whole course revolves, how the Vcenter connects to the Active Directory, just for that purpose. Otherwise, Vcenter has its own authentication and authorization going on. Other than that, DNS, there's Dhcp, and later we're going to be installing our software SAN, without which we cannot survive. So, well, without which normally the virtualization environment is not complete. So the first machine would be this, and the name for that machine we can just give so that would be Win01, and the other ones would be ESXi01 and ESXi02, and then ESXi03. So Win01, ESXi01, ESXi02, and ESXi03. So the first machine we're going to start installing in Vmware Workstation, and second would be the hypervisor, that VMvisor you were saying. So hypervisor ESXi7. So this would be installed directly on these machines. I'm going to show you how, and if you're following me, then you can do it. So again, wherever, suppose you get stuck because you're trying to understand this format, and now you're trying to install in your environment, and you may be stuck in something, you can put that screenshot on WhatsApp if you're connected to WhatsApp there, or you can send me a screenshot in the email, or you could share your screen in there's a in WebEx, there's that share, there's a share button here as well, maybe you're seeing that. So but we may not be able to troubleshoot everyone's machine, right? Suppose you're stuck really and it's not going ahead, so let me then finish the whole lab, because you're gonna see the whole lab in the video, and you can just repeat the whole lab anytime you want throughout the week. But if we spend all the time in troubleshooting in our machines, then I won't be able to even finish the topic that we have started, and nobody gets then the finished topic, right? So all the class time if we spend on troubleshooting. Although if it's something that we can resolve sooner, then it's okay. Otherwise, if you're stuck, then my suggestion is to sit back and try to understand what's going on and ask as many questions as you want, and let me finish and give you the whole environment with step-by-step explanation of everything, right? So I'm here to help. Definitely throughout the week when you're doing this and you're stuck somewhere, just send me the screenshot. I'm stuck in this one, or this is happening, so I can just give you some tips there. Okay, do this, this, and that, and you will be okay. So main request again is that yes, we can spend all the time on troubleshooting as well your machines, but then we won't be able to finish the topic, and we will be going too slow then for the whole course. I try to add as many big labs as possible. Sometimes the course goes so slow that I'm not able to finish all the big labs. Then I send the video, previously got videos there at the end of the course, if you're not able to finish, or change that topic, get a lab topic to theory, plus I send a video that you can try it yourself. Mostly I will try to include all the labs if we are going a bit faster, but I'm not pushing, and I want you to go with me if you can, and if you're stuck, we've just discussed that. So just need your cooperation in that. And but the main thing is, do you understand what's going on, right? And the second thing is then how to implement this, second most important thing. And you should whatever environment we are creating here, my suggestion is that, and previous courses some students have been doing that you create an exact replica environment of this, right? Just change the names and IP addresses in the same machine and create an exact replica environment. So whatever we do, you do with me, or you sit back and try to understand everything and then redo that at home in your replica environment as well. So that would be very beneficial for you. Okay, so that said, any questions anytime, most welcome. You can ask any questions here. Oh, I did not put that chat here. So in the chat you can just write any question for any step I'm taking. Why are you taking this step? Why not the other step? All questions are most welcome. And make sure that we understand everything. And some topics might be very complicated, so you will try to see those topics again and again, and then you will understand. It's not a guarantee that you will understand each and everything, although I'll try my best to make sure that you understand everything the first time. Okay, so our lab, we need to go to VMware Workstation, and you guys all have it. I will be creating your official VMware student accounts. So I was not able to create that, or the email I received was yesterday I saw that email. Hopefully, maybe it was sent way before. So the thing is, today I will create after the class your by the end of the class I can create that, and you can just log in. So you will have all the access to the free VMware Workstation and the 2-year key with that, and all the other free software as well. Okay, so inside the VMware Workstation, I have right now 16, but if you're working on 15 or 14, it's okay. It works exactly the same way, no big differences there. And second thing is, let's start creating our first machine. What do we do with that? We're going to be adjusting our RAM, the virtual machine RAM, that is, right? So your virtual machines have 32 GB RAM, and in fact, one of you have, I think, 48 GB RAM, so that's wow already. My machine, I'm the lucky one here, have 24 GB RAM. Okay, less than everyone else. So some of these virtual machines might need for certain lab more RAM, more CPU. So I'm going to be telling you, okay, let's shut down this machine temporarily and keep this machine started, or shut down this machine and change its RAM and processors with that, and then start it. So there will be a lot of adjustments going on throughout the course, and I'll explain you why we're doing that. Why is the most important thing here, right? And then how. So let's go for the first machine, then the second and the third machine, and fourth machine as well. So last time I also discussed why 4 machines and all the roles that they are playing right now, right? So now this is kind of a messed up environment with a lot of arrows there, and hopefully you may have gone, oh yeah, you don't have access to the video. I was gonna say you may have gone through the video and checked it out. So I'll just quickly revise the roles here. The first one is Active Directory, DNS, DHCP that we were talking about, and software SAN a little later. But the second one we're going to be creating today would be just the hypervisor 1, hypervisor 2, hypervisor 3. So why 3 hypervisors? Because the vCenter application, and this whole course is about that vCenter application. This used to be installed on a Windows machine till 6.5 version of vCenter. Now 6.7, and we're on 7.0 now. So 7.0, it installs as a appliance or a virtual machine. So normally I used to create two Windows machine and two hypervisors because we used to install vCenter for Windows. Now it's vCenter for Linux, which is actually a virtual machine that gets installed on top of a hypervisor as well. So the vCenter will be living on top of a hypervisor, while the other two hypervisors are for our advanced features testing, and especially I call it crash test. So we have to crash a certain hypervisor to check the feature of high availability like fault tolerance and HA, which is high availability. So we're going to be doing a lot of restarting there. We don't want to mess with the vCenter hypervisor where the vCenter virtual machine is living. We don't want to actually do any crash test here, because if we crash this machine, obviously the central environment that we're going to be deploying here will also be gone, and pretty much we won't be able to do anything. So this machine must stay up all the time, so we could, because it has a software inside called vCenter. Yep.
I've got a question. Now, what if the vCenter machine crashes?
Yeah, so I will be telling, or I'll be explaining that how to have vCenter highly available. And in fact, that is called, since this is a very good question, a very interesting question. So there's a native high availability feature. What is that? I'll just briefly explain that. Native high availability feature, and that is just for the VCSA, which is the vCenter server appliance or the Linux-based vCenter. So what it does is that it simply expects that you have a virtual machine here, which is VCSA, which is controlling the whole virtual environment. Okay, this is in Esxi 1, but then you should have its copy created here, and that should be a passive or standby copy of the VCSA, and then you should also have a witness machine here. So what happens basically is, this is the active machine A, suppose, and this is the passive machine or standby machine, the P, and this is the witness machine, W. What are the roles of these? Active machine is the one that is doing everything, and passive machine is, or standby machine is, an exact copy of the active machine. Active machine, whatever changes are going on in the active machine, every second, as soon as the changes happen, those changes are copied to the standby or passive machine. While what is the purpose of witness machine? Witness, I'm going to be explaining that in detail as well later, but right now just a brief. So witness machine, its only responsibility is to make sure that this machine is up and running, the standby or passive machine, and this machine is up and running, which is the active machine, which is doing everything right now. So the only responsibility of the witness machine is that if active machine goes down, then it will wake up, or it will tell the passive machine, hey, you're on, you're the active machine now, the actual real active machine is gone and you're the active now. So it wakes up. So witness machine's only job is to keep an eye on active and standby or passive machine, and if active goes down, it just tells the passive or standby machine to become active. But suppose the witness machine is down and active somehow also went down. Now there is no one to tell standby machine that please fail over or become an active now. So this is the part, this is what witness machine does. So this is how the high availability of the vCenter for Linux or VCSA is implemented, and it does require a lot of CPU and RAM on all three hypervisors, which in our machine having total of 32 GB RAM may not be able to provide. So I was trying to make that lab happen in our environment, but I think we need 64 GB or 128 GB RAM so to do that, because vCenter requires 12 GB RAM minimum for it to run, right, the VCSA. So 12 GB, 12 GB, 12 GB, it already goes beyond 32 GB, right? Yeah.
Okay, one more question. Can we have multiple instances of passive and witness machines?
No, this is in the, yeah, actually there is a cluster aspect to that, which is in a native high availability, you can go cluster as well. And there you can then have in a very expanded way, you can have 3 branches here, and the 3 branches, so it will be just spread across active here, passive here, and witness here. So, and yes, it can have multiples of that too. So standby and
Okay.
witness. So, and it can be expanded as well. So this is the overall that. Otherwise, yes, that would be a main concern. Hey, if this server goes down, whoa, what do we do? We lost our central enterprise grade application, and we can't do anything now. So definitely, VMware has a very good system, but it requires, for professional environment, obviously they would have high-end physical servers there, HP, Dell, or others, right? So, well, this is native availability that is available. Hopefully, we may be able to do the lab. I don't think we will be able to do the lab with this kind of CPU and RAM. So that's why I will be explaining with diagrams as well and more advanced, some in-depth features there for this. We're going to be talking about that. Okay, so the 3 hypervisors we're going to be configuring and installing one by one. So we're going to be really making sure that every step is carefully implemented, because one small step wrong and your next all steps or the overall configuration will be wrong as well. So we're going to be careful in that. So this is overall structure that we need to create. I'm just going to go back to what we are about to create now. And the purpose of this is to offer infrastructure roles, and we're going to be installing that. So what is the name of the machine? It's Win01. What is the IP of the machine? So IP addresses would be 192.168.200.1. No specific reason why 200. It could be 100 as well. It could be 1 as well. It's up to you. 255.255.255.0, and I'll just change that. So we're gonna have a fake gateway here as well. What is gateway? Gateway is that device from which our data leaves our environment to the internet, and from internet it enters our environment through gateway machine, right? So VMware environment normally needs a gateway IP. Now we don't have in our environment, or we don't need our environment to have a gateway. So we're gonna give a fake gateway of pointing it to the first server, which is you can just point it to any machine that is pingable, right? So the first server is pingable. It's going to be up all the time because of DNS and DHCP being there. We must keep this Win01 server up all the time because of the name resolution and IP address. So that's why we're giving a fake gateway address here as well to these machines. So this would be the IP, right? And this would be SM subnet mask, and this would be the gateway GW. And since we are planning to install the DNS on this machine, so the PD or preferred DNS would be this 192.168.200.1, and alternate DNS, we don't have 2 DNSs there, so we don't need a alternate DNS for that. So this would be the configuration of the first machine, and obviously the IP addresses have to be the same. So the IP configuration of the second one would be 2, and the subnet mask gateway preferred DNS do not have to change, and the third one would be 3, and fourth one would be 4, right? And the names are already there, so we're gonna go exactly like this. So first we need to create our first machine, and we have to carefully configure all these infrastructure roles there. So later in the course, on top of this, we're going to start building up the whole environment. So these have to be working configured perfectly without any mistakes. So the whole environment later will rely on that heavily. Okay, so let's go for the Vmware Workstation and first machine, and I'm going to go to my other desktop here that is in my home as well. So there I'm connecting through. So I'm going to go for Vmware Workstation, this one. So you should be seeing that Vmware Workstation on your machines to which you're remotely connected, if you're remotely connected or locally. So I'm going to double click that Vmware Workstation. Well, So we're gonna go slow first because we can't miss any single step, right? Later we're gonna try to go faster as well as the response comes from you that, oh yeah, done, or no problem, yeah, it's okay. Otherwise I'll go slow for now so we could pick up the whole environment. We can understand the format as well of the lab. Okay, so I'm gonna go for, you must be seeing this home page here and create new virtual machine. If you don't see that, let me know, and you can just go from file and new virtual machine here as well, or from here as well. Create a new virtual machine. So we're gonna create first virtual machine here, and if you see here 15, it's okay, 14, it's okay, 16, same thing, right? So typical here, I've selected, and I'm gonna click next. So those who are following, yeah, you can just do exactly the same. And second thing is, guys, what happens with Windows Server 2016, even if you go for the latest version, there is a bug that VMware Workstation and Windows 2016, when they're combined, the bug shows here. What's the bug here? Bug is that if once we install Windows 2016, so here we need to click the browse and we need to give the path of the Windows Server 2016 ISO, which is there. So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to select this one. I will install the operating system later. Oh, why? Because if you select it here where we're supposed to select Windows 2019, it goes fine. This bug doesn't come there. But with Windows 2016, what happens is if you select it here and next, finish, everything is done. When you start installation, it starts installation as well. And after some time, it says there's a license issue. So that is a very annoying bug that comes to majority of the students. Very few say that no, my installation is good. So then I introduce a workaround, and those who get the error, so instead of seeing the error, why don't we just go through the workaround right away? So first time Windows 2016 should install and not stop you from going ahead, right? So I'm going to go for a workaround for 2016 to avoid the bug where it says, hey, where's the software license? We're not, it's a trial version, we don't have any license, right? We don't have to put any key here, it's just a trial version. So I'm going to go for that. Hopefully those who are following, you can just go with this as well and select I will install the operating system later. Later we're going to give the ISO path 2016. Hopefully you have 2016 already downloaded in your machine. In fact, that you can confirm. I'm just going to go to my machine. While that window is open, I'm just going to my machine and I'm just checking where is my 2016. Hopefully you already also know where's yours Windows Server 2016. And if you don't see it in your whichever downloads folder or software folder, then well, you should have it. C drive, I'll check in ISO folder, ISOs, and yeah, I have 2016. Okay, I'm good. That's in 2017 I downloaded that, date modified. Okay, enterprise 2016 evolve. Okay, so I have it too, and I'll go ahead. So I'm going to go for, I will install the operating system later, and then I'm going to click next. So here, it has to be on Microsoft Windows, top one, right? But we need to select the proper operating system because it's going to load the universal drivers of that particular operating system. So I'm going to drop down here, and I'll go for 2016, right? So hopefully you're able to see that too. And if there is any issue, you can always ask question anytime. So Microsoft Windows 2016, let's click next. And it's better to name the machines. So it is Win01 dash your first name dash, well, some of you have public machines there, like other classes will be seeing those machines, so it's better to put your name there. For your local machines, yeah, if you don't want to put, you don't have to. And today's date, 16 Jan 2016. Did I say 2016? 2021. And this is VCP7, right? So too much details there. And well, this is just the course detail, the day, and the machine name. Second thing is that I'm not going to click the browse button here. I have a C drive and a D drive. If you don't have a D drive, don't go for it, but I have a D drive where I want to put it, I will keep this folder structure intact here, and I will just change the C drive letter to the D drive letter because I have a D drive there, which is 1 terabyte and SSD. So if you don't have it, don't change this, right? So just go for the name and you're good. I'm gonna give this type of name to, or naming convention I want to copy here. I just selected the whole naming convention because instead of, for the other machine it will be Esxi01 and the same naming convention we can just continue, right? So I'm going to copy this, and since I have a D drive, so I'm just putting only D, but I want to keep the folder structure intact. I don't have to click browse. You can go browse technically and you can just put it in any other folder if you want. Better do it this way. Okay, so once that name is given, I'm going to click next here, and okay guys, so here 60 GB is written, right? So I can give here 200 GB as well. So my question to you would be then, if your physical disk of your laptop or desktop has free space of 50 GB left, and I am giving here 200 GB, is that a good idea or a bad idea, or technically do you have any answer to that? Like, should we go ahead with doing this while we have, suppose we have actually 50 GB free space left only on our physical disk? Yeah.
50 GB, yeah, decent size.
So
I would say.
So you would say, sorry?
50 GB, yeah. 50 GB is blanked out, left out. I would not mean, yeah, you can ask. If
I
you
would
want, you
not
can
go
give
ahead.
200 GB.
Yeah, sure. That's exactly what I would say as well. So guys, I just wanted to explain here that this is thin provisioning. So the concept of thin provision is that you would whatever space you put here, it's not going to occupy that space on the physical disk. It will only occupy space when you install a software inside, and whatever is the size of the software, that much space it will occupy on your physical disk. That is the main feature of the thin provisioning, right? So while thick provision is the opposite, and that if you're going for thick provision, then yes, we need to make sure that our physical disk has enough physical space there for the thick provision. So by default, this software is a training software, so it goes for thin provision, where if I give here 1 terabyte right now while I have just 50 GB free space, so suppose I give 200 GB here, right? It's not going to occupy 200 GB on our local physical disk. It's going to occupy, and we're installing what? Win 2016, right? So that 2016, well, so that 2016 Windows normally takes like what, 8 GB to 12 GB space. So whatever software you're installing, it's going to occupy that much space on the physical disk, and it's going to grow up to this much space. So we're giving the full disk drive space here, which will not be occupied on the physical disk. That is called thin provisioned. So thin, that is in Microsoft it is called dynamically expanding, and in VMware it is called thin provisioning. So provisioning is just deploying something. I have a very bad writing here, but provisioning, okay, there's an ing. So, and thick provision is the opposite of that. If you put 200 GB, we must have more than that on physical disk. But it's simple. So that's the concept that I wanted to explain. I'm just gonna go ahead, and so I'm gonna give 200 GB. Then what is this? Single file and multiple files. So single file is that this virtual disk will grow up to, suppose, 200 GB. Suppose you keep on putting so much software databases there on this machine, and it grows up to what, 150 GB. So do you want that 150 GB to be as one big single file, or do you want it to be multiple files? Which means that if it grows up to 180 GB disk space, or virtual disk, which is 180 GB, so it will divide that 180 GB into multiple chunks of file, 4 GB each. So 4 GB, then when it is filled up, another 4 GB separate small file will be created, and then another 4 GB will be created, another 4 GB until 180 GB. So you want to keep it as one big huge file, or you want to divide it into chunks of file, small chunks, 4 GB chunks of file. This is what these options are saying, right? So now what is the benefit of that? Yeah.
What's the performance difference if we choose one of the options?
So what is the recommendation? That's what you're saying?
No, what's the performance difference? Like,
Oh,
what's the performance?
yes.
Yeah.
Performance difference will be better here in single file, and multiple file, the performance will be lesser. But multiple file is easier to copy over the network, while single file, 180 GB single file might take more time, and if it's a busy network, it might drop packets and you might not be able to copy the whole thing over the network. So that's the pros and cons of that. I do keep single file. Why? Because the folder, sometimes we have to go troubleshoot inside the virtual machine folder, so there's a huge amount of files there, while when it's single file, it's pretty clean folder and I just go to the files right away. And the extension of the virtual disk that will get created is VMDK. It will be VMDK. So that's the extension of the virtual disk of our virtual machine, right? So it will be, it will say just 4 KB right now because it's a thin provision, and when we install Windows, that VMDK will start increasing in size. Okay, so I'm putting it single file, but we do understand that, okay, when do we use this, when do we use that, and that we can give any size here. I am just in a habit of giving 200 GB, you can give 100 GB, 300 GB. Better follow what I'm doing, because later you're going to see that if we have consistent configuration, that is always a good thing. Okay, so once that is selected, I'm going to click next. Well, we're going to do shopping here. So we're going to go for customized hardware. And yes, maybe you've remembered the Einstein formula there. That has nothing to do with Einstein. And that is, I no click, you no click. So do not assume that I'm going to click this option and you go ahead of me, and then you realize, oh, he's going some other way. Oh man, I have to repeat the lab. Okay, let's sit back, and when the video comes on, and then I'll do the lab, right? So okay, hopefully you're exactly following me, and where I stop, you just stop. Don't assume anything, right? I'll customize a lot. So let's go for customize hardware first of all. And this machine has memory, processor, and everything here. Now this is the training environment, right? So this software, this hypervisor, Vmware Workstation, is a training hypervisor. This is hypervisor 2. Hypervisor 1 is what we're about to install inside hypervisor 2, the training software. Anyway, when it comes, we'll talk about that too. So memory is 2 GB. Now we're installing Windows 2016, right? So we can give it a lot of memory, or okay, let's give it 8 GB memory now. Always, as a virtualization administrator, you have to decide how much total physical resources you have and what are the virtual resources you're committing there. So if I go for total 32 GB, obviously that I don't even have that kind of RAM. I have 24 GB RAM. So I'll have to stay within the physical resources that I have, processor and CPU. Anyway, I'm going to give here 8 GB RAM. If you have like 48, 52 GB RAM, then you can go even ahead. It's going to go faster. That's the first thing, RAM. And second thing is processor. So here, number of processors, we can keep it 2, because I think we all have i7 quad core processor. So it has 16 cores when you go with the multi-threading option. So you have a lot of cores there. Number of cores per processor, it can be 1 for now. It's okay, 2 processors already given there. And then there are some options there that we don't need if you are installing within Windows Hyper-V, then you normally need these options of virtualization. We don't need virtualization in this virtual machine right now. And CD DVD, remember that we did not attach an ISO yet, but I'm going to tell you when to attach, right? And if we go to network adapter, you can see here bridged, NAT, host only, custom. So what do they do? So let's talk about that a little. I'll just expand that screen and I'll go annotation. Yep. Oh. Okay, so well, guys, yeah. Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead and what is bridge first of all, right? So bridge is that you want your virtual machine to be part of your physical network. Now I get my laptop is getting IP from my DSL router. You're getting for your desktops and laptops IP from your DSL routers of your company or your home. Now, if you click this machine as bridge, so this machine will be exposed to the physical network, and anyone else in your environment will be able to ping that machine, will know that, okay, this is another machine, and it will get an IP directly from your DSL router. So if you could put it on bridge. And well, it's not a very good idea. Once one of my student, who was actually from VMware himself, he was in the class, and he did the lab, and he tried to test the lab. So he took the laptop to the office. He clicked the bridge button on the machine, and their monitoring software detected that, and they said, hey, this is an unauthorized machine. Where did you get that permission? And they confiscated his laptop for, I think, 1 or 2 weeks. So next week he was like really about to cry when he was telling that. So I was like, whoa, who said to put it on bridge? Okay, anyway, so he learned it the hard way that you want to really put your machine on physical network, then go ahead. We're not going to do that in our lab as well, but we know that what it is now, right? NAT. NAT is network address translation. So obviously, our machines will be behind NAT here, which means that one public IP gives the internet to the private IP addresses. Whenever we need internet connection, we're going to just give our network adapter NAT. But throughout the labs, we're not going to give it NAT. We're going to keep it without internet all the time. And whenever we need internet, we're going to simply add another adapter from here, and we're going to give that adapter NAT and use what we want from internet, and then we're going to remove that adapter or disable that adapter. So throughout the course, we're not going to have internet, but whenever we want, we will just add another adapter to have NAT. Okay, host only is just it's not connected to internet, and the machines are connected to just host. You can copy paste anything from host. Who is the host? Host is our laptop or desktop or our Windows 10 machine, on top of which we're having this Vmware Workstation software. So from host, you want to connect anything. This is it. Then there is custom as well. What is custom? So if you go to custom, you can see there are 19 networks here. Oh, every VMnet is a network? Yes. What does that mean? So maybe you have heard the concept of VLAN. So in one same physical switch, you can create VLAN 2, VLAN 3. If machine belonging to VLAN 2, and there's a machine belonging to VLAN 3, so VLAN 2 machine cannot communicate with VLAN 3 machine. So this is the same here. If you connect this VMnet 4, this machine is connected to VMnet 4, suppose, and another machine is connected to VMnet 13, suppose. So they cannot communicate with each other. So these are just separate networks. In fact, when I was saying that at home you can create your own replica environment, so this class environment you can give VMnet 13, suppose, and for replica, the other environment you can give VMnet 16. If they have different VMnets, then even if you have same exact names and IPs there, obviously they will not be communicating with each other, so you will not have any IP conflict if machine of one VMnet is also started and the other one is also started, and they both have same name and same IP. But if the VMnet is different, they cannot communicate with each other, right? So what we're gonna do is, now temporarily we're going to give it NAT because this is a trial machine and we need to enable the trial for 6 months. That's a good thing in 2016 that when you enable a trial, it goes for 6 months with full features. You can try it, right? But if you want to connect it to, if you want to activate the trial version of 2016, you need to have internet connection. So that's why we're going to temporarily give internet connection. After it is activated, then we're gonna come to VMnet 15. Now, why VMnet 15? No particular reason. I'm just in the habit of doing that. You wanna choose 14, 13, 12, go ahead and choose that. Remember just one thing. If you have 4 machines and they want to communicate with each other, then you must have in all 4 machines any of these VMnets. So suppose you choose either VMnet 11. All 4 machines must have VMnet 11 to communicate with each other. All 4 machines have VMnet 15 to communicate with each other. If they are different VMnet, they won't communicate. So I hope we are clear what are VMnets. They are different networks, and all machines, if they want to communicate with each other, must have the same VMnet to communicate with each other, right? So temporarily we're going to give NAT now because we need to activate the trial version. After that, once it is activated, then we do not need internet connection. We're going to go down to VNet 15. My suggestion, what I'm doing, you should do as well. If you want to go some other VMnet, yes, you can do that, because you know what is the purpose of the VMnet. So just make sure that you know what you're doing, and otherwise just follow me, and let's have consistent configuration here, exactly the same configuration. So for now, I'm going to go for NAT, and I told you the reason why. Because we need to activate the 2016, so we need internet temporarily, right? And then there's USB, sound card, printer, display. Yeah, so it's okay. If you want to disable that, you can. Otherwise, if they're enabled, they are just harmless. They don't do anything. Well, so the most important things are RAM, processor, network adapter. Remember that we haven't given the path. We haven't attached the ISO 2016 to be installed on this machine yet. So we have made these virtual hardware configurations, and I'm gonna go down here. I'm gonna go down here, click close, and now we're back to the screen. So we can click finish. As soon as we click finish, obviously, then it's ready to be started. But again, we didn't give the internet. We didn't give the path of the ISO yet, right? So what we can do is we can still power on, and you will see the error there. Hey, it's gonna try to boot from the internet, from the network, or okay, it's giving me this. Obviously, it should. Why? Because we did not give the path of 2016. Now is the time. Now we can do that actually. So it's just saying that where do you want to boot from, right? So now we're going to tell it where do we want to boot from. So while the machine is started, I'm going to go right click here and go to settings, right? Once I click settings here, then we're going to go, basically we're just giving the path of the ISO now. So now wherever the 2016 is, we can just grab it now. CD DVD, I'm going to go there, and ISO image, it's asking here, where's the path? I'm going to select this here and click browse. So, well, I saw before that where my 2016 was, so I'm just going to go there. It was in C drive, in ISO. In my case, your path is different, my path is different. Just check where's yours, and so, yep.
I'm getting an error when I'm doing that. I'm getting an error of the host does not support virtualization real mode. The Intel VMX unrestricted guest feature is necessary to run this virtual machine on an Intel processor.
Oh, is it a laptop?
No, workstation.
No, it's a workstation. So you have to shut down the workstation and go to the BIOS, and you have to go to the. Now it depends on which company's BIOS it is. So basically, you're looking for a virtualization feature that is disabled right now. So that virtualization feature has to be enabled for any virtual machine to run on that workstation. So that happens with new laptops as well, when we have to do that in the BIOS.
So what am I looking at? Means Hyper-V enabling on the BIOS, or what do I have to do?
This is a hardware actually. So let me. This is in virtual machine I'm showing, and in the processor. So virtualize Intel VD. Now it's not going to be worded this way, but you have to go to the BIOS and check. What is it, Dell or?
Dell.
Okay, it is Dell.
Yeah.
So then you have to shut down, go to the BIOS, and then we have to look for the security. If there is a security tab there, and inside that there will be virtualization, or for HP it is in different place, for Dell it is different place, for IBM it's different place. So you have to look for. If I were you, I would just go for Google, and where is the virtualization option in the BIOS of Dell Workstation, this particular model.
Okay.
What you have, right? Okay. So
I'll just come back then. I'll come back.
Okay. So here, guys, now I'm gonna go for the CD DVD. So Sarfraz, when you come back, I'll tell you all the steps if it's not that long. Okay. So CD DVD here, I'm gonna go for use ISO image file, and I'll go for browse. and I'll check it out. C drive, ISO 2016. Okay, that is actually, I'll go for details and date modified. Go for this one is, I think, 2018. Okay. Wow, why do I have older versions? I'll just select that and press OK. Right. So, So guys, if you're following, are you on this exact screen where I am? Because from here, what I can do is, I'm gonna click on top of that, right? If I click, the mouse vanishes, so I can control it from keyboard now. If I want to get out of this virtual environment, so there's a Control Alt, I'll press, and the mouse comes out. So if I click, it goes in, Control Alt, it comes out, right? So if I click on top of that, then I can go for this. If you're not able to see this screen, then I'll just, if you're able to see the screen, what we need to do is this. We need to just go to CD-ROM where we just inserted the disk, and we can press enter. But suppose you were not able to come here. So normally what happens is, we can go to power, and we can go to power onto firmware as well. Also, you can just restart, and it's going to take you to this screen. If you're not on the screen, let me know. Otherwise, we need to go for the second here, which is a CD-ROM, and we need to just press enter on top of this, right? And it says above there, press any key to boot from CD. I did not press because I wanted to show that, okay, this is coming. What does that mean? Exactly what it says. We need to press any key on the keyboard to boot from the CD or DVD and simply start the installation of Windows. So I'm going to, this time I'm going to click, I'm going to press enter on this line. Then when this message comes, I'm going to press any key on the keyboard to continue the installation, right? So I'm going to go inside, and I'm on the CD-ROM again, and I'm going to press enter. This time I'm pressing the key, some keyboard key. Oops, okay. I should have pressed it harder. I'll go again. Okay, now I did. So it just says Windows setup, and I'm going to press enter. So hopefully now error does not come, because if it comes now, this will be more ridiculous. Guys, give me a sec. Okay, so here we see English, United States, and time and currency format, right? So here, well, basically, if you want to change the time zone where you are, I'm in Toronto, Canada, so I'll change to English, Canada. So you guys are in the United States, so you can keep it like that. You can click next, and basically after that is, yes, you can actually assume, just go ahead and click next and start the installation. I'll go, I can change that time zone from when I log in as well, but if I change from here, so the time zone gets fixed, sometimes even then we have to make some slight changes. Okay, so once that is there, I'm gonna go for install now. So I'm going to go for, we can go for standard as well, or data center. Somehow out of habit I just go for data center. So obviously we would need desktop version. We need desktop, not the standard evaluation, which will take us to the PowerShell version or command line CLI version, command line interface. So we don't want that. So either standard desktop is also okay. I'm going to go for data center desktop, although there will be no big application installed on top of that, so we don't really, out of habit I'm just going for that. Not a very big difference. So data center but desktop experience, this is what you need to really make sure, and click next. That's it. Then next finito. So I accept the license terms, next, and then we're not upgrading it, we are customizing it. So I'm going to click customize. We're not creating also partitions in the drive, so we're going to click next here. So that machine is getting installed. Okay, so looks like my machine is slowly going ahead. So when it finishes up, then we need to go for final restart. So here our class password, we can give a class password of class password. You can give any other password, just don't forget it. And but otherwise normally I give a class password of small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123, right? So the class password equals small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123. So I'll just give that to the machine, and wherever it asks across hypervisors, the Vcenter, I'm going to give just this password. Obviously in production environment you have to give a different password, but here it's going to be just that. And I'll put here last password, and also that let's install 4 VMs. First VM is Windows 2016, and it has 80, okay, Active Directory, DNS, DHCP, and later software SAN. And then let's create the other hypervisors. So Esxi hosts, and when we reach there, so create 3 hosts, give them, so in the DCUI mode, DCUI which is direct console user interface. Well, I'm going to show you which mode is called direct console user interface. And in the DCUI we will configure the Esxi hosts. So these are the hypervisors, Esxi hosts. So when we reach there, so right now that's till here is a long task. So we're going to do that. Like correctly doing that might take a bit longer time. So if I come back here, yes, it's ready to put the username password there. So I'll go for the class password, which is small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123. I'll press tab here, and small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123. So that is this. And once we have put that, or you can just put your own password, but just don't forget that. And I'll click finish, and then above the Vmware Workstation there's a 3 buttons here showing that will send the control alt delete. So I'm going to select these 3. I'm going to click this 3 buttons, and I'm going to go for small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123. And once inside there, so anyone having any question, just put it on chat or come on mic and ask that. Or if you're just watching it as a demo, then well, still, if you have any questions, let me know that. So there's a I'm going to press yes to this blue bar here that says that would you want this machine to be discoverable on the network? Yes, I want it to be discoverable over the network. And this is well, we have installed it. Now we need to make some changes there to this machine. In fact, let me just write down those changes. Okay, put it down. Oh, yeah. Here, once the 2016 is installed, so we can turn off the firewall, the local OS level firewall, and when we are doing that, we'll talk about that. And we need to change the power options so it will not lock. So the machine will not, the user account will not get locked every 10 minutes. This is like screensavers every 10 minutes. And also we'll just check the time zone, and especially the time zone and the time as well. Also, we will go for turn off IE enhanced security. Also, twin, so turn off IE or Internet Explorer enhanced security, although it's now Edge. IE is discontinued. Yeah, if we were using 2019 latest version, we would see Edge there. So other than that, we need to install, actually that is supposed to be the first point, install VM tools, VMware tools, and restart. Also, we need to rename the OS to Win01 as we decided in the diagram as well. So when we are restarting this, it will be a same restart, right? In one restart, we can just install VMware tools plus rename the machine as well and do just one restart. Otherwise, renaming requires a separate restart and VMware tools requires a separate restart. So now we're gonna do two things and then do one restart here. Other than all that, check the time zone and the time as well, turn off enhance security. Once we're done with all that, then we can do one more thing, and that is put the static IP that we put in the diagram. And finally, this is very important, take a snapshot. So why snapshot? Because all this configuration will be there. Suppose we mess up the machine so much that we had to go back to the previous state where it was working fine. So we're going to take a snapshot at that point where all this is configured already, right? So we're going to take a snapshot where all this is configured already, and then we can go ahead and install Active Directory here. So this would be our first major point here. Then we can install Active Directory, DNS, Dhcp, and here also we're going to do exactly that. We're going to save our configuration if we had to go back to this configuration because of if the machine got corrupted or messed up to such a level that we need a clean machine. So instead of creating a new machine and doing all these things, we will just go back to the snapshot where it was having Active Directory, DNS, and Dhcp. So two areas where we need to take a snapshot. Once we are done with this, then we're going to start installation of the Esxi host, because software SAN is coming later when the basic environment is done. So since we logged in from this machine, so these are the tasks that need to be done now until here. So install VMware tools and and then rename and then restart. So rename the OS, and then so I'll just put it as one and restart. So after that, restart. Okay, let's do this first. And once we are done with this, so throughout the course we won't have any issues when we are creating our virtual machines or when we're creating more environment or building up more after this, right? So install VMware tools and rename the OS to Win01 and restart. So I'm going to go ahead and first of all, how to install VMware tools. So I'm going to go up there and right click here and go down to install VMware tools. So it's on the white area here, you right click and then go down to install VMware tools. Once you click install VMware tools, it normally pops up here. It also pops up like this. I'll intentionally miss it in case somebody missed it. Otherwise, when you click here, then there's a setup showing there. Okay, so I'm gonna go inside this yellow folder if in case somebody missed that pop-up. Then I'll go to this PC. So it's just a big gray button here as well. It should be there, and I'll click. I'll just double click it and just next, but I'm not gonna restart at the end of it. It's gonna ask to restart. I'll not restart at the end of it. and it's popping up here, right? So I'll just install the VMware tools. This is typical. Next, install. So it just makes the machine user friendly, and you can see that it's not expanded here. It's just a small screen. So it installs the display video driver, video output driver. It's gonna flicker a little now, and then you can see now the whole screen is bigger. So more video drivers have been installed there. And I'm going to click finish here after the end of it. Was just a simple install of VMware tools. Next and finish, right? And then I'm going to click finish here. So I'm not going to restart here, right? I'll click no. And then I will also go for the rename of the machine. So I'm going to go for local server, rename the machine, right? Local server here in server manager in, well, and then I'm going to go for computer name here. I'll click the computer name and click the change button. Once you click the change button, so, well, the machine name is Win01. Machine name is Win01. So I'll just press OK, and now we can restart, and it will also implement that VMware tools configuration plus this restart here for changing the name. Press OK, and close and restart. Now if I'm going too fast, slow me down as well. You can just say, hey, teach, go slow. So I'll slow down as well. Or, yeah, when the video comes out. Otherwise, this is just basics all, and pretty much we have been doing that before as well. Okay, so it's restarted, and I need to click these three buttons up there to send the control alt delete, and then log in for my local administrator. Okay, so once the machine is installed, and if I go check my, oh, not this, here, so these two are done, and I'll click green here, and then we can turn off the firewall, power options. It locks, if you have no activity, it locks the account after 10 minutes or 15 minutes. So we need to change it forever, right? So, and check the time zone. So we're going to go for these. So first is we can turn off the firewall. I'm going to go back, Alt Tab here, and okay, so here I'll just go for the local server, and in the local server there's Windows Firewall on, right? So I'll click that, and I'm going to turn off the firewall. So instead of adding exceptions, normally what happens is sometimes the Windows Firewall also block what is not supposed to be blocked. So and it's a training environment where we're not supposed to just keep on troubleshooting whatever was caused by the firewall. So some companies also, big companies also, don't go for OS level firewalls. They have their own protection, end-to-end protection from McAfee, and there is intrusion detection and intrusion prevention systems there as well. BitLocker is there, with just encrypts the whole drive. So there are so many other security systems. So some companies prefer that OS level firewall is off. Some companies prefer no, OS level firewall should be on. So that is, we're going to go for turn Windows Firewall on or off. And there's a turn off here, and two profiles are there. Third profile gets created when you install the Active Directory there. So I'm going to go for turn off Windows Firewall here for private networks and public networks, and turn off here as well. I'm gonna press OK and click the close button and refresh that. So other than that, so this is done. I'll just click green here and then change the power options so it will not get locked every 15 minutes, I think. So I'm just gonna go back here to, so on the operating system level here, I'll just try to go for the power options, right? So where are the power options? Power, and normally they're in control panel. So I'm going to right click here on this Windows icon, and then power options are on the top. So I'm going to click that power option here to change the log out interval to never. So if the machine is idle, then it should not log us out, and when we come back we have to just put the username password again. So I'm going to click the power options here, and there's a balanced change plan settings and there's a high performance change plan settings. So balanced is that if you're actually going on a laptop and your energy consumption is you want to do that. So I'm going to go for high performance here because I'm connected always with the cable, power cable here. I'm not using the laptop batteries here. So when it's a desktop, it's good. Go for high performance and change plan settings here. So its default is 15 minutes here, and I'll go down to never. So when the machine is idle, it's not gonna lock down now. So I'm gonna click save changes here and close this. So if I check all the options that I put on OneNote, so this one is also done. And then check the time zone and the time as well. Sometimes the time zone is correct, but the time is wrong, and that could affect the network connectivity of virtual machines as well if the time is incorrect. So Alt Tab, I'm going to go back to the machine and I check that. Okay, in my case it is Eastern Time, US and Canada, and if I see the time here, yes, it's the exact time of my laptop. So time plus the time zone is correct. That's good. I'll put that as check, and then we're gonna go for IE enhanced security turned off. This is normally quite annoying. What is IE enhanced security? So it is Internet Explorer enhanced security. If you're in the server manager and then local server here, so you see there IE enhanced security configuration. So it is on. And well, it's just annoying in a way that when you're trying to use the browser for connecting to the Vcenter, so it keeps on prompting, is it the safe site? Is it really safe? Are you sure it is safe? So a lot of annoying, and then it cannot let you download anything, right? So those are security related configuration which are good in a production environment, but here in a training environment they are quite annoying. So I'm going to click that on button here and turn it off for administrators and turn it off for users, although it's not a central policy that's going to go to any users, or end users will not be connecting to this machine anyway. But the main thing is we need to turn it off for the administrators here. And I'm going to press O and K. Okay, and refresh. So if I go back to this list, so IE enhanced security is turned off, and what we haven't done is the main thing, the static IP. Also guys, one more thing before that which I forgot, and that is it's not a point that's done, but I think it's done, but so I'm just gonna is your Windows Server 2016 activated from the trial version? Has the trial version been activated? So how do we know that? I'm going to show you now. Yeah. Okay. So I'll show you now how it is done. Like, you know, oh, wasn't I connected to internet? Seriously? I think we were on NAT, but I didn't get internet connection here. So guys, if you got internet connection, if you don't have a yellow triangle on top of this network icon here, or the monitor screen icon here, so you can just go for minimizing the server manager, minimize, and on top of this watch here, you should have written there 180 days. It has been activated for 180 days, right? Because I didn't get that. Now if it is written 180 days, it's good, and I'm going to show you now, because I need to first check out why I'm not connected to internet. So if suppose it is not 180 days written here, right? So your machine will expire, and when it shows expiry message here, it's going to shut down every half an hour. So that's not good, because we're going to be connecting to our vCenter from here all the time. So this machine has to be up all the time, right? And this machine is also offering DNS, infrastructure rules, right? So I'm going to check why I don't have internet connection, and I'll right click here, settings. Yes, it is NAT. Well, okay, sometimes it stubbornly doesn't get me internet connection. Okay. Well, it's not. You know, the virtual machine gets internet connection from the desktop or laptop on top of which it is created. So if I minimize this VMware Workstation, my desktop here, my desktop here, oops, no internet connection. That's not good. What happened? Well, it may not be a very, very, very big deal, although I do need Google as well. So what happened here? Seriously, I had an internet connection, and okay, I'll just click once only, and then I'll just go ahead. Oh, it might disconnect me from here, from my laptop to my desktop in my LAN environment. Ethernet does not have valid IP. Try these repairs as I left here. Okay. So Sarfraz, is it done for you, or hopefully it is? I don't see Mike there. I'll try just this once, and right, it disconnected me from my desktop. But guys, if you see 180 days, then that's good, and then we're gonna take a snapshot. So I'll try to just connect again and try to simply get this. I think it's gonna remotely connect. Yes, it is remotely connected, and it's not fixed. Okay, anyway, I'll fix it later. I don't need it today to get configured. But later I would need, so I'll do the troubleshooting. In fact, there is a break time coming, so at that time I'll troubleshoot. So here, once we are done with all this configuration, so we need to put a static IP. Okay, we're gonna put a static IP here, but the machine has to be activated. The trial version. If you add the key, then it's okay. If it's for the trial version, then it needs to be activated. And activate. Wow. Okay, so I'll just simply go back here. So the next thing is we need to give a static IP, and I'm gonna go for local server here, and there's the Ethernet 0 here. or we can just go from here as well. So Ethernet 0, when I click that, I need to give it a static IP now. I'm going to double click here and go for properties, and I'll go, I'm going to, out of a bad habit, I'm going to uncheck V6. So it is, if it's checked, it doesn't matter. But if it is checked, what happens is when you ping, it gives you back the IPv6. So when we are troubleshooting something, then it's then we don't understand that, oh, is a machine up or not, because we're not so used to seeing the IPv6 addresses. So I entered that, and then I double click v4 to give the static IP there. So double click v4, use the following IP address, and 192.168.200.1. tab gives automatically 255.255.250. Tab again, we need to give actually a static, we need to give a fake gateway as well, right? So 192.168.200.1 and tab 192.168.200.1. So here, this IP needs to be given. Just make sure that it's not 193 or this is not 169. Otherwise, you will have issues. So I'm going to press OK after giving the static IP here. And if anyone has any questions, or so I'll just press OK and close here. If I go back, this is the diagram that I'm following, and I'll just copy that diagram and put it on the OneNote. So it should be updated on your side if you have the OneNote there. Hopefully you have. The static IP is given as well, but this I was not able to confirm that. So this has been done. Okay, so without activation, well, okay, I'll just, let's go for the snapshot now, because all the other configuration, which is also important, and it takes time. We don't have to do that again if it's in the snapshot, when we come back to the snapshot, if we have to come back to the snapshot. So I'll just go back, how to take a snapshot there. Oh. No, I cannot hear you so much. You are also. Okay, so we can take a snapshot here on this tape. So if we right click here, then there is take snapshot here, right? So this is a snapshot and take snapshot. Yeah.
Do we want to take a snapshot before adding DHCP and Active Directory and DNS?
Yeah, so that would be our second snapshot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, so here, and I'll put those steps here. I think maybe if you're not having access also to the OneNote till now, so I'll put those in the WhatsApp chat, and whenever you have access to the OneNote, you will see that's there as well. And okay, so I'm going to go back here, and this is yeah, I'm going to take a snapshot. So I'm just going to right click here on top of this machine and we'll go for snapshot, and that's going to be, we're going to click the take snapshot here. Well, it's a snapshot 1 of Win01. This machine's snapshot 1, right? It's better to put what we have configured. So it's VM tools installed, because when you go back to the snapshot, you need to have the details that what is done, what do you not have to do. So static IP given, and not all tiny details as well, but the major changes you have done, and rename the machines as well. but in my case, not activated. In my case, you don't have to really write that if your machines were activated, but in my case it did not activate, so I will write that so I would know that okay, this snapshot actually does not have activated machine there for 180 days or 6 months. If you have that activated, then and if you're showing above the clock, machine has been activated, then you're good, and you don't have to write anything. Well, at least not activated. So I'm gonna just click the take snapshot, so whenever I have to come back, I will know, okay, I don't have to do these tasks, right? Actually, I have to do this task, but these tasks I don't have to do. So the more detailed, the better, right? So I'm gonna click that, take snapshot. Now you can see down here, saving state, and it's 4%, and then slowly it's gonna go 5%, and we'll let this go ahead while I'm going to just simply go for the rest of the tasks. So we don't have to really wait for this to finish saving the snapshot. And the take snapshot, so once that is done, so we've reached here, right? Now we can install, because we gave the static IP as well, Active Directory needs that. So we can install Active Directory, DNS, Dhcp, and then take the second snapshot. Other than that, we would love to have a better browser, and that is we're going to have Google Chrome. That's the preferred one for controlling or remotely connecting to our VMware environment. So Google Chrome, we're going to deploy that to. Either we can deploy now or we can deploy after we create the Esxi hosts. I'm going to carefully configure those as well. Okay, so I'm going to let's go for Active Directory, and the domain name can be netplus.local, and well, we're going to do all the step slowly, one by one, and we make sure that our steps are correct. So I'm going to go back here. Remember, again and again, I'm saying that Active Directory is not required to have Vcenter deployed and run in an environment. Active Directory is just there because big companies or majority of the companies will have Active Directory there. So that's why we're putting there. One more thing, we need to connect the Vcenter to the Active Directory, and that's what you're going to find in the production environments, that Active Directories there will be actually connected to your Vcenter. So if you create a username inside Active Directory, that's a Microsoft username, right? But you can add it to the Vcenter application as well, because we're going to create a collaboration between Vcenter and Active Directory. So that's why it is important for that just one lab. But because this configuration will be there in the production environment, so that's why we're going for it. I'm going to go for dashboard here on this machine, and I'm going to go for add roles and feature. Oh yeah, I'm putting some chat comments there. Sarfraz just mentioned that privately. Okay, so okay, dashboard, add roles and features, right? And let's click that. Maybe you've done that so many times. So I'm going to click next here for just the DL files. First of all, the basic files to be deployed for Active Directory. So role-based or feature-based. Yes, this is the one. Next. And Win01 is the name, and the IP address is this. So I'm going to click next here. And then the second one, I'm just going to go for, well, it pops up right away. Do you need these features? But it's the second one that I selected, Active Directory Domain Services. It pops up, just select everything, accept everything, and add features. And then let's click next. Nothing here now. I'm going to click next. Nothing here. Next. I'll click restart. And I'll I'll let the operating system choose that whether there is a restart needed or not. I'm going to press yes and click install. So the binaries are getting installed now. Well, so guys, we can take a break here, and let's just promote this to, and when the Active Directory is restarting, then we can take a break. So promote this over to our domain controller. I'm going to select that, promote this over to our domain controller, add a new forest, right? Add a new forest, and as we decided, netplus.local would be the domain name, right? Then it's just next finish and restart. So it's going to take some time to install that directory, and I'm going to click next. You do need to put a password here for DSRM, so I'll just put the class password, small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123, small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123, and next. DNS here. So it's just looking for a DNS. It won't find it because we are in the process of installing the DNS, and we can't do anything anyway here. So I'm going to click next. NetBIOS domain name. So if it's a single named resources there, single name application can connect to Active Directory with single name, then this is a single name that is, we don't need to change that to, nothing to do here. Next. And this is the path for the Active Directory components. Next. And this is review the selections. Next. So it's going to verify the prerequisites. You're going to see some warnings, but we can ignore those warnings because it's saying that, hey, where's the DNS? And we're in the process of installing that. So this is the one that I was talking about, DNS. And the first one is saying if you have a very old Windows NT 4, then this machine will not securely communicate with that NT 4. So we can ignore both these warnings there and click install. So now it's going to install and automatically restart, and our Active Directory will be configured. So we can take a break now, and 20-minute break, and then we'll go ahead from there and install the rest of the stuff. So I'll just break class starts. Okay, US it's gonna be 343 there, so 5, okay, 405. And Canada 505. I'll mute and pause. Back, and well, let's get going. And what we were doing was so what we were doing was Active Directory installation, and it is done. Well, by now it should be done. It should be restarted. So we're gonna go for DNS and DHCP proper configuration there. So I'm gonna go ahead and check it out. If yep, it's restarted, I'll just select the Control-Alt-Delete 3 buttons up there to log into the domain name and the local administrator of this domain. So small abc, the class password that I showed you before as well, small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123. So this is the class password that I'm going to be using everywhere. So small abc, capital ABC, shift123 without shift123. And so I'm going to just go ahead and log into the Active Directory. Before that, we made all those changes which are in the chat as well, and which are in this OneNote as well. So all these things we did one by one on this machine. Then we took a snapshot as well if anyone was not able to do that, so you can wait for the video and follow up and exactly do all these steps the way shown in the video as well, right? And once the Active Directory is installed, we need to make sure that we have a domain administrator that is other than the name user account name administrator. So what we can do is create so subtasks of these is create create a copy of the administrator, the domain administrator account. You know why? Because you will have in Vcenter application, you will have the top account that has all the privileges. That account will also be known as administrator, right? So here we're going to create a copy of that administrator account, and we're going to use that throughout the course. Create a copy of the domain administrator, copy user. We're going to copy user of the domain administrator, and we will use that user throughout the course. Okay, so let's do that now, and I'll just go back to the environment here. Since Active Directory is installed, so what I can do is I'll go to Tools here, and I'll go to Active Directory, Users and Computers. And I'm going to go inside that Tools and Active Directory, Users and Computers. And once inside, I'm just going to double click that, and there's built-in computers. I'm just going to go to the users area where the top administrator account is there. This has all the privileges across this Microsoft domain and forest. So I'm going to select that, but I'm going to right click and copy and create a new user account from this user account having all the privileges that this user has. So I'm going to right click here, and there's a copy. I'm going to click that copy here, and once I copy, so we can just we're going to go for netadmin, any name you want to give, Control A, Control C. I'll just put that as user logon name, which will also update here. So netadmin is the account that has all the privileges that domain administrator account or the enterprise administrator account has in Microsoft Windows. So I'll just go for next, and I'll go for small ABC, capital ABC, shift 123 without shift. So wherever the password, I'm gonna go for class password that I showed you already for the training environment, but in production environment, obviously we need to have different difficult passwords for all the critical resources. Password never expires. Okay, password never expires. In production environment, we don't do that, but here we can. So it's not gonna bug us. Let's click next and finish. So once we create a netadmin, which has all the powers that enterprise administrator of the domain Microsoft network is having. So I'm gonna just log in from this netadmin now. So I'll log out from administrator and log in from netadmin. So I'll just go ahead here and sign out. Then I'll go to the send Control Alt Delete, and then I'm going to go for other user. So the new, and we're going to use this throughout the course, netadmin. So once we are logged in from netadmin, I'll just go for the list here, and we're done till here. So now we just need to make sure that our DNS is properly configured there are subtasks for DNS as well that create reverse lookup zone. Also make sure that ns lookup command gives correct IP of the DNS server and correct FQDN of the DNS server. So the main thing in a VMware environment will be if our DNS has been configured properly, and DNS issues should not be there. Pretty much for Microsoft, Citrix, VMware, any environment where you want to access by name, then you have to have DNS properly configured and perfectly all the vendor best practices should be implemented there. So let's go ahead and first check it out. In fact, this is going to be the second step here, and this would be the first one. That so in DNS, so we're going to open DNS and we're going to check that, and we're going to open the command prompt admin in cmd admin. Just make sure that ns lookup command gives correct IP of the DNS server and correct FQDN. So let's do that. This is a preferred DNS should be properly configured here, so it could go ahead and give name resolution services to the whole environment. So I'm going to go back here, and in this Windows environment, so I'm just going to go ahead and right click on the command prompt admin. Why am I going there? Because I'm going to run a ns lookup command. Ns lookup is, so let me just open this. So ns lookup, so name server, ns is name server, lookup is search for my name server or the search for my DNS server. I'm going to press enter and it gives me the wrong name. The correct FQDN will be in local server. The correct if I go to that computer name, so the correct FQDN normally is this. Win01 is the machine name and Netplus.local is the domain name. So FQDN, fully qualified domain name, FQDN, right, is supposed to be the machine name dot the domain name. So this FQDN should come. Instead, it's just giving localhost, and the correct IP of that machine where the DNS is installed should come. Instead, it's giving us loopback address. So we're gonna fix that. So whenever we type ns lookup, it should give the correct FQDN or fully qualified domain name and the correct IP of that server that hosts our DNS server role. So how do we fix that? First of all, we're going to fix the IP, then we're going to fix the name. This is the interactive mode of ns lookup. We need to get out of this interactive mode here to get the prompt, C prompt, right? So I'm going to control C out of this. If you press control C, it just takes you out of the Windows and then System32, right? So that's one thing. Now we need to fix that 127. First of all, it should give us proper 192.168.200.1, which is the IP of this machine, because this machine has the DNS server installed. So how to do that? And then we're going to come back here and run ns lookup again. At least the IP should be correct. So I'm going to minimize this. I'm not going to close that. I'm going to just minimize this. And I'm going to go to the IP, to the Ethernet 0 or the network card again, where I gave it the static IP. So once I click here, this is in local server, or you can go from here as well to the network interface. Then here, Ethernet 0, wherever we gave the IP address, we're going to go there, right? So properties, and we uncheck the V6 and we double click, we're going to double click V4. There's the place where we gave the our static IP. Now first of all, ignore that the gateway is gone. We put it there, but it's gone. So if it discovers that its own IP is the gateway, then it removes it, which is okay. But in other machines, when we create, we're going to give the gateway, which is the IP of this machine, which is just a fake gateway. I explained that before as well. Also, we're sure that we gave the 192.168.200.1 IP here, but it has changed it to 127 or the loopback address, right? So normally it does that when it discovers that it itself is a DNS server, so it changes it to pointing it to itself. Loopback address means pointing to itself. So I'm just going to remove this, and I'm going to put back the correct name. So in Vcenter, in VMware environment also, it will show the same then if we fix it here, 192.168.200.1. Now suppose we don't do that, the DNS name resolution still works fine. This is just the vendor best practice. So 200.1 I've put back here, and I'm going to press OK, OK, close, close. Then I'm going to go to NSLookup in the command prompt and run NSLookup. At least the IP should be correct now, right? So I'm going to press OK, OK, close. Then I'm going to go for command prompt again, and up arrow gets that command back, right? So if I press, at least the IP should be good. So IP is good, but the FQDN is still unknown. It should be Win01. So the name of the machine, this machine, and the name of the domain that this machine is in, Win01.netplus.local. Should be there, but it's not there. So we're going to fix that too, and Control C out of this, right? So we're back to the prompt. I'm going to minimize this again because I'm going to come back here to run NSLookup after doing some more changes. So this time I'm going to close everything, and I will go to DNS Console, right, which is living here also, which is tools, and there's this, right? So tools and DNS. When I click that DNS, it will open the console. Why am I going there? Because I'm going to see that there's a forward lookup zone and then there's a reverse lookup zone, but reverse lookup zone is not configured. Only forward lookup zone is configured by Active Directory for us. So I'm going to click that DNS now, and I'm going to select that machine name. This is our machine name. I'm going to expand our machine name, and there's a forward lookup zone that resolves computer names to IP addresses. There's a reverse lookup zone that resolves IP addresses to computer names. So forward lookup zone, if we expand that forward lookup zone here, so we see that it's already configured. Active Directory actually configured the DNS for us. The forward lookup zone part of it, where if there is a name, it will give us the IP for that and let us connect with that. So if we go to the zone, the domain name here, it's just having all this. So later we're going to be adding here manually Esxi1 with the proper IP address, Esxi2, Esxi3 here. Manually we're going to create the A records. These are called A records, or machine name records, where there's a name of the machine and the IP of the machine is there within the forward lookup zone. Now if this much is configured and we don't do anything else, normally the name resolution is still working fine. But the best practice would be that you would configure reverse lookup zone, that if anyone has an IP and wants to know the name for that IP, then reverse lookup zone should get that request. So as a best practice, we do configure that too. So I'm going to right click here on reverse lookup zone. If you see the reverse lookup zone, it's not configured. If you see the forward lookup zone, it is configured. If you see the reverse lookup zone, it is not configured. So we're going to configure that too. I'm going to right click on the reverse lookup zone, and there's a new zone that is showing here. So if the infrastructure role, guys, is configured perfectly, the DHCP has no issue, DNS has no issue, so then we can worry about the more complicated concepts that are coming our way. If these has issue because of some improper configuration, then the rest of all the labs are affected by that, and that's why we're taking more time to configure this property. Okay, so if I right click on reverse lookup zone and then go for next, so there's a primary zone, which is read and write copy of the zone, and then secondary zone, which is the read only copy, and stub zone is for small branches. It just redirects to the proper primary or secondary zone, and store the active zone. Active Directory just means it's going to be secure and encrypted. So primary zone, yes, we're going to keep it selected, and next. So it just says that do you want me to tell other DNS servers that this reverse lookup zone is created? So we don't have any other DNS server. We plan to have only one DNS server. So all this is okay, and I'm going to click next. IPv4 reverse lookup zone, yes, we're not going for V6, we're going for a V4, and next. So then there is network ID. There is 192.168. So it needs to know just the network ID side of it, not the client ID. So it just needs to know, hey, what's the IP range, subnet IP range that you're working on or you're using in your network. So that's all it needs to know, right? If there's an IP there and it, against that, what is the name? So the request will come to reverse lookup zone. So we just give the network ID and click next. That's it. So allow only secure dynamic update just means that if there is another DNS server and it is known to Active Directory, then only update that or exchange information with that DNS server. So I'm going to click next because we don't have any other DNS server. And then finito. So now we have configured reverse lookup zone as well, right? If you click that 200.168.192 and we click forward lookup zone and this reverse lookup zone, right? So what we need to do is when a record is added here, and we're going to add the Esxi records here as well, and there will be Esxi1, Esxi2, Esxi3 here. So in reverse lookup zone, the record is called pointer record or PTR record. In forward lookup zone, the resource records are called A records. So if I go back to under forward lookup zone and then netplus.local, so there's this server's name and IP information is there, and this is called host A record or A record. Now this same information should be back there in reverse lookup zone as well. How? So we're gonna go to the reverse lookup zone here, right? And I'm inside that zone that I've created. I need to make sure that pointer record or the IP and name information should be here as well for this machine. Which machine? This machine we are working in. So well, I'm going to go back to forward lookup zone and I'm going to double click this A record, right? I went to netplus.local. I'm going to double click this A record. So it says here, it shows the information win01 is the name of the machine, IP address is this, but it also shows update associated pointer record. Pointer record means that create this machine's record in reverse lookup zone as well. If anyone has an IP of this machine, wants to know the name, the request will go to the reverse lookup zone, right? So I selected this checkbox and I'm going to click apply and OK. Before I go and check in reverse lookup zone, I'm going to go up to the DNS server name itself and I'm going to refresh it just a few million times. Refresh. Okay, so then I'm going to go back to reverse lookup zone and go to the zone here. So now the IP and name information is also there. So it resolves IP addresses to host names. So if there are some Linux machines in VMware environment, if there are some other IP addresses that has a name there, so that will be created in pointer as a pointer record, PTR record here in reverse lookup zone. So once this is all configured, I'm going to go back down here to the command prompt to know with NSLOOKUP if the FQDN is or fully qualified domain name is showing here or not. So when I go to this, IP was showing perfectly. If I go to up arrow here, NSLOOKUP, or just type NSLOOKUP and press enter. So now we see that yes, the correct fully qualified domain name is showing here and the correct IP is showing here. So this means that well, we have further configured it according configured the DNS according to the vendor best practice. Well, that done, and if I just go back here, so these are the tasks we needed to do, and in the video you could just follow those tasks and properly configure not only the class environment but the replica environment as well. So you should practice it 2 times because more complicated stuff, it's always a good idea to repeat the labs. Okay, so this much task we have done in NSLOOKUP. Now it is showing proper fully qualified domain name and the DNS server IP, correct IP as well. And we create the reverse lookup zone as well, right? So once that is done, then we can go down to Dhcp and we can just simply deploy that as well. Well, that's just deployment and give the IP range here. I'm going to create a scope inside. So create a Dhcp scope. Give the range. From 192, 168, so it can distribute that range. .200.50 from 50 up to 192.168.200.100. So it can distribute 50 IP addresses automatically if any machine needs that. Although we're not gonna have that many machines in our environment, so we can just go ahead, fine. We can just give any shorter range as well. But just to give some range, we're just giving this. So let's go ahead and install Dhcp. Once we have configured Dhcp, then we can take another snapshot of the whole environment. If we had messed up somehow or it got corrupted, we can go back to the snapshot where DNS, Dhcp, and Active Directory was configured as well. So we're going to go for Dhcp now, and after that, we're going to take a snapshot. So now I don't need the command prompt. I do not need the DNS console as well, so I'm going to close. But this is very, very critical throughout the, well, inside the VMware environment, inside actually any environment, DNS is one of the most critical resources, right? So it has to be perfectly configured. Okay, so dashboard, again, we need to deploy Dhcp role as well. So I'm going to click that, add roles and features. Next, role-based or feature-based installation. Next, Win01, 192. Next. And this time we're going to select Dhcp, this one, right? So it pops up with, hey, do you need these features? We're going to go for yes, add features as well. And then we're going to go for next. Nothing here. Next. Nothing here. Next. If there's a pending restart, it will restart. Otherwise, it won't restart. So I'm going to select this option and let it decide whether to restart or not. And I'll click install. Once Dhcp is installed, we're going to give it a IP range, and when we do create virtual machines inside our nested environment, nested virtualization, so those machines will get an IP address. Okay, so I'm going to click that complete Dhcp configuration. This pops up here, and then it will create 2 security groups there, and it will get the authorization from Active Directory that can Dhcp work or not. So it's going to get authorization from Active Directory. So I'm going to click next here, and it says that, hey, you're working with this account. Yes, we are working with this account, netadmin. And okay, and I'm going to click commit. So you should see done here, right? I'm going to click close here. So complete Dhcp here and close. So now Dhcp role has been deployed. We need to configure it. So I'll go for tools. I'll go for Dhcp. And expand the Win. And this is the name of the Dhcp server or the main server. Then we go for IPv4. I'm going to create a scope here quickly. So I'm going to right click on top of IPv4 here. Right click on top of IPv4 and then click new scope. So I'm going to click next, and there I'll just go for company scope. and click next. (192.168.200.50) tab 192.168.200.100. So it will distribute IP addresses from 50 up to 100, right? So I'll click next. It doesn't have to be that range, it could be any other range as well. Okay, so I'm not giving any exclusion range here. I'll just click next. And lead duration is 8 days is okay. It's just a training environment. Next. Yes, I want to configure these options now. So these are just some advanced options that when the DHCP does give an IP address to any machine that needs it, what other information DHCP should give. I'm going to click next here. So I want the DHCP to give other machines that information that we have a fake gateway here as well. So 192.168.200.1, and I'm going to click add here. Also, well, when you click next, so it says that it's going to tell all the clients that the parent domain name is this, netplus.local, and the DNS server IP is this. So that's correct information. And I'll click next. So Wins is older name resolution for Windows only machines, so we don't use that anymore. So we're gonna keep it as is, and next. Yes, I want to activate the scope now. So let's click next. And finito, right? So this is finito here, so I'll just go ahead and now DHCP is done, so we're kind of done with the Windows machine here. So we've done creating this machine, gave the IP range as well, so I'll just consider it done. Now we can go for our second snapshot. So first snapshot was done where without Active Directory we went for all these basic options. Second snapshot is going to be done with the Active Directory here. So I'm going to go back here and I'll right click on top of this machine again and go to the snapshot again. So there's a take snapshot. There's snapshot 1 already there, we don't need to touch it. So I'm going to click take snapshot again. Snapshot 2 of this machine, Win01. So the more information the better for snapshot 2, that what is configured in snapshot 2. So we will say Active Directory, DNS, Dhcp, configured, brackets. So Active Directory, DNS, Dhcp, configured. So if we had to come back to the snapshot, if the machine gets so messed up or corrupt, so we will know that, okay, this snapshot actually has Active Directory and Dhcp, so I don't have to install that too. Okay, that's good, let's go back. Well, if we had to go back, so I'm just going to click that, take snapshot, and it has started taking that snapshot. It's going to take some time doing that, so we'll let it do that, but we can continue. We don't have to wait for it to finish. So if we go back to this, so we've reached there, and we're pretty much done with the take snapshot as well. We're going to install Google Chrome, but let's go for the Esxi Hosts as well and deploy them one by one. So that's the Linux based or Photon based actually, which is VMware proprietary OS for hypervisors. So we're going to go ahead and deploy the 3 hosts. So create 3 hosts, yes, and we will be the subtasks for that is give 4 GB RAM each and 2 processors. Now these are the basic requirements of Esxi hypervisor, which will be hosting virtual machines. Minimum 4 GB RAM, minimum 2 processors. If you give any less than that, they're not gonna start, right? So 2 processors, and VMnet configuration can be 15 because we don't need to connect to NAT anymore. And we need to change, actually one more thing is left up there, and we took a snapshot already. Well, I think let me just check that. Did I change that to VMnet 15 already, this machine? If I right click on this machine and go to the settings to check the network card settings here, or it's still on NAT. So if Esxi machines are, hypervisors are on VMware 15 and this is on NAT, so this machine cannot communicate with those machines. So this machine has to be back on VMnet 15 as well, although I was not able to activate it, which is very crucial. So in order to let those machines communicate with this machine, I need to change this machine's VMnet to VMnet 15 as well. So I'll add that as a step now. Change Win01 VM's VMnet from NAT to VMnet 15. It could be 16, it could be 19, it could be 12, it's up to you. It doesn't really matter, but all 4 machines should have same VMnet number, right? So they could communicate with each other. Excuse me. So I'm going to do that on Win01. So I'll go back here and right click on this machine, settings. And once you go to the NAT, so it's on NAT, and I'll go custom. Later I have to put it back to NAT once my desktop has internet connection. So then I'll just temporarily go back and make sure it is activated, and then I'll put it back to VMnet 15 again. I'm going for VMnet 15 out of habit. It's for no particular reason. It could be any other. So VMnet 15 here, and I'm going to press OK. Right, the configurations have to be same or consistent. So I'm going to press OK here, and I'll minimize this. So VMnet 15 has been added here. So this is what I'm putting here, that for create 3 hosts here, 4 GB RAM, 2 processors is a default, but put them all on VMnet 15, right? And give HDD as 200 GB. So since we put the HDD, and it's thin provision, so we don't have to worry about the space, and we put that same disk space there on the Win01 machine, so we can just keep it consistent here as well. Okay, so now let's get down to Esxi hosts and create them one by one. 3 hosts, which are all 7.0 hypervisors. So if I go back to the environment, and so this machine is up, right? But one more thing here, what is the RAM available? So if I go back to the diagram, so this machine has 8 GB currently. It actually does not need that. We're going to have to give it 2 GB. Why? Well, it's not doing much. It doesn't need no more RAM. And still, why? Because also we have a total of 32 GB RAM. You guys have 32. I have actually 24. I'm even more miserable. So we need to make sure that we don't overcommit. Although in some labs you will see that we will have to overcommit, and it kind of works as well, as long as it does not use full capacity. So 2 GB here, and 4 GB and 4 GB and 4 GB, right? So 12, 13, 14, right? So that's really, we will be expanding the RAM for this hypervisor, because this hypervisor will get our Vcenter, VCSA machine. So we will have to expand this to 12 GB or 10 GB, and the others will remain. So then you will see that very soon your 32 GB will seem like very less RAM, right? So for now, what we need to do is, we don't need to give this 8 GB here. I'm going to shut down this Win01. I'll change its RAM to 2 GB back, and then I'm gonna start it, and then we're gonna start installation of the rest of the hypervisors with 444 each for now. And I'll go back here. I'll just go down to the Windows machine, shut down here, right, and give a reason, unplanned, continue. While this is going on, I'll go for, so I will be putting one more thing here, change the RAM of Win01 to 2 GB, because the rest of the operating system will need or the hypervisors will need a lot of RAM. The more you give, the better, but we're down to minimums. Actually, we don't have that kind of luxury of RAM. 32 is also, in VMware environment, it's not enough. Okay, so the machine is actually shut down. So I'm going to change the RAM back to 2 GB. So once we click that, I'll click the 2 GB here, and that's it. So you click on top of that 2 GB, it just gets down there, and I'm going to press OK and power it on. In some scenarios, we need so much RAM in some scenarios that we even shut it down and put it on 1 GB just to get more RAM for the other features sometimes. Okay, and well, I'm just gonna try log in as well from this machine. It's starting, and let it start. It's okay, we don't have to wait for that. So I'm just gonna go to home button here. Why? Because now we're gonna deploy the hypervisors one by one, right? So let's go for home button and deploy. Create a new virtual machine here. Typical is okay, and click next. So we're creating a new virtual. This time we're going to give the path of the Vmvisor. So that's the hypervisor that we need to deploy, right? That hosts virtual machines. So I'm going to select this installer disk image file, and then I'm going to go for browse. And we need to go there where our hypervisor software is. And so guys, it will look like this: VMware Vmvisor installer 7.0 U1. So this is how it should be looking like for you as well. So whatever is saying Vmvisor, that's good enough, and 7.0. If these two are there, yes, this is what we need. So I'm going to double click the Vmvisor, and it detects here, or even if it doesn't detect in the older versions, it's okay. I'll click that Vmvisor. Well, I've selected that Vmvisor, and I'm going to go next now. So we can keep the naming convention the same as other machines. So it's going to be Esxi01 dash your first name dash today's date 16Jan2021 dash VCP7, right? So this is the name of the first hypervisor. I'll select the whole name because I need to go for the second and third hypervisor giving the same name with different numbers. I'll right click and copy that, and also I don't want to go browse. I'll keep the same folder path here, and I'll just change the C to D, so it will deploy this machine to my D drive with the same folder structure. Okay, so I'm gonna go next here. 142, really? Oh, well, actually we're gonna go 200. So this is thin provision, we don't have to worry about that. It's not gonna take any space on our physical disk. And we can go for single disk. We have already discussed all that. So I just go for single disk. Some administrators go for multiple, it's up to you. So 200 GB just to be consistent, it can be 300, 400, 100, doesn't matter. Let's click next. Now we're going to go customize this machine as well. Four GB is okay, 2 processors is okay, but the network card needs to be VMnet 15, which is actually living inside custom. I'm going to click custom here, and we're going to go down here to VMnet 15. So we're going to click close, and we're going to click finish. Now, when I click finish, it just starts. Okay, so it starts like a Linux if you have ever installed Linux before. So it's 4 GB, it's starting. Well, we can start the second one simultaneously, right? So it will stop at certain point, so we're going to start from there. So I'm going to go for home again, and I'll just pretty much do the same steps but different name. So I'll click the create new virtual machine again. Typical is okay. Next. The good thing is it's already now added here, the Vmware Workstation, VMware 7. So it's selected. We'll click next. I'll just paste that name here and change the 1 to 2, and that I'm installing it in D drive, not C drive, and click next. 200 there, single file is there. 200 GB there, and single file. So I'm going to click next here. Then customize. Only customization we need is that the network adapter needs to be changed to VMnet 15. The rest is okay. So I'll customize that. 4 GB is okay, RAM is okay, 2 processors is okay, and then network adapter custom VMnet 15. That's the only change we did. Close and power on. Finish, right? It will power on as well. Let it start. And we're going to go for the third one just to initiate all those, and then we're going to switch between the 3 to get them all installed. So I'm going to go back to the third one. Typical. Next. Esxi7. Next. I'll paste the same name. Oh, did I put, yeah, 3. So Win01, then Esxi1, Esxi2, and this is Esxi3, and in my case it will be D drive here, and I'll click next. 200 GB for consistency, single file as I have it. Next. So all we need is network adapter to be VMnet 15, customize hardware. So 15 here and close and finish. So the first one should be already at some point stopped. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Win01 is already okay. Esxi1, Esxi2, Esxi3 are there now. So if we go back to the diagram here, so this is where we are, and the IP addresses need to be given obviously They will get IP addresses when they are fully installed. They will get the IP addresses from DHCP, but we don't need IP from DHCP for critical resources. Always the IP addresses are supposed to be from, they should be static, not from DHCP. So let's start installation. So I'm going to go for the first machine that is waiting for us at this point. So welcome to the Vmware Esxi 7.0.1. Press. I'm going to click on top of this so it goes to the virtual environment, and there onwards it is keyboard based, right? If you want to take out the mouse, Control Alt on the keyboard, put the mouse back, click, and Control Alt to take out the mouse, right? So I'm just gonna put the mouse back in the virtual environment, and it's keyboard based, so I'm gonna press Enter on the keyboard. Okay, Hugo says you mentioned changing back to VMnet 0.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. So I know that you were saying to change it to VMnet 15, right, to have all the ESXIs right on that network, right? VMnet 15, but at one point I think you said change it back to 0, or I might be incorrect. I'm just trying to make sure we follow the proper settings for the network.
So yes, I'm saying that, maybe I was saying that you can go to any other network. You can go to 0 as well. But yeah, we can just keep it VMnet 15. 0 is your choice.
Okay.
So yeah, whichever you want to take.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I'm consistent as far as those network settings, so including the Win01 and then the ESX also have the VMnet 15. Okay. Got it.
Okay. So here, VMnet 15, and we have, well, okay, I'll just go back here. So we're going to go for continue here. And guys, always you're most welcome to ask any question. Don't be shy about it. And I would really be, in fact, waiting for your questions. So it's always a very fun class to have interaction going on, right? So otherwise, demo class, yeah, you will understand. If you're understanding everything, I salute you already. If you're letting me go ahead and we'll understand in the video that will come, so it's better to ask questions here because video will not answer you. But yes, next class I can answer, or during the week you can send me an email with a question. You can WhatsApp me a question, and I will answer that as soon as I see that or whenever I'm free. So yes, all questions are always welcome, and I really appreciate that if you're asking questions. Okay.
Okay, I got a question for you then, in the spirit of that comment. When I selected the VM7, it told me it wasn't recognized.
Oh yeah.
So I went back and installed, I had 6 on there too, so I created my 3 machines with version 6. Is that going to be a problem?
Okay, so you're talking about this place, right?
Yeah, it didn't recognize, when I selected ESXi 7, it wasn't a recognized operating system.
What is your version of Vmware Workstation?
It was
help here?
the one before yours, 15.5.
Yeah, 15.5 is good. I have 16, you have 15.5.
Right, but is it going to be okay if I create the ESXIs in 6 instead of 7?
No. You know why?
Sorry to cut in the middle again. Yeah, so I think it's all going to depend on what's actually inside the RDP for the micro train, because earlier, yes, it did have the 6.5, and then just today when I logged in, I saw that, earlier I had said that there was a 7.0 version of the hypervisor in the VCSA.
Yeah. Okay.
I saw that too, but it's just that the VMware Workstation that I'm running did not recognize the 7, so I went to 6.
So if it does not recognize here, it's perfectly okay. That it, even if it does not recognize, the inside software is still the same. The older versions of the VMware Workstation do not recognize that as 7, so that is still okay. We can ignore that they did not recognize, and we can go ahead with the 7 because this course has all the features discussing about 7. So 6 would not be a good idea.
Then I'll go ahead and delete the ones I created and recreate them in 7. Thank you.
And yes, I really appreciate that you asked that question. And please, 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 everyone ask the question right away as soon as you see a issue in your site. When I said that, oh, let me go ahead, please don't take it literally like, oh yeah, just let him go ahead even if we have issue. No, no, if you have issue, let me know right away, right? I'm here to help. Yes, only if it goes half an hour, 45 minutes, that's where I'm saying that, yeah, then let me go ahead, right? And you can solve your issue later. But any small issues, please let me know right away. I'm here to help you, right? So, and any question, I will really appreciate. So, since I don't get any questions till now, so I'm actually saying, please ask me questions. I mean, this is for your own good. I can just go ahead and blah, blah, blah and finish it. But for your benefit, I'm just saying that again and again. Please ask questions if you have any. And right away, stop me, discuss it, make me repeat it. That's your right. Okay, let's go ahead. And I don't mind being stopped at all. I appreciate that. Because you have a question, you are here to learn, right? Okay, so let's click next. Oh, whoa, I'll cancel that. I already have 3. So I'm gonna go back to what I was doing, Esxi 1. And yeah, so they're all actually waiting on exactly this point, which is okay. It's a pretty simple Linux installation, right? And yeah, so I'm gonna press enter on that screen because it's all keyboard based onwards. So I'll press enter here. It says F11 accept and continue. Yeah, pretty straightforward. If it's laptop, you have in my case I have to press Fn or function key plus F11 to get this working. On your desktops, maybe you need to just press F11, that's it. Then it says that you need to have, is this the hard disk that you want? Yes, it is this 200 GB here. So I'm gonna press enter. And yes, it's a US default. Yes, it is US default. Enter. Root password. So I already put that class password. I already am going to put that class password. So if you're doing that too, it's okay. Otherwise, whichever password you chose, just make sure that you are not. Oh, whoa! What did I do? You're not forgetting that password. So small abc, capital ABC, shape 123 without shape 123 tab. Small abc, capital ABC, shape 123 without shape 123 again, and press enter. Okay, you might get this warning, right? So this is saying that future releases of VMware will not support this processor. So we're saying, okay, as long as you run this one, thank you. But yeah, maybe 7.45 versions or 8.1 versions maybe, we will have to upgrade our hardware as well. For now it's supporting, so we're good, we're thankful. And simply press enter. So here install, pretty straightforward. I'll put function key and F11. Any questions? Let me know. So okay, so first one is started. I'll just Control Alt out of here, the mouse, and I'm gonna put Esxi 2 on the same way and Esxi 3 the same way. So it's pretty much the same drill now. On Esxi 2, I click on top of the screen to select the virtual screen here and press enter on the keyboard. Fn F11. And yes, that's the only disk we have. Enter. Yes, US default. Enter. And the password. Small abc, capital ABC, shift 123, without shift 123. Down arrow key. Small abc, capital ABC, shift 123, without shift 123. Enter. Then it says, yeah, it's not gonna be continued in future versions. This processors, you better upgrade, we will. And then F11. So the second machine started the installation. Okay, so Safra says I cannot install Esxi 7 as my processor is not compatible and my mic is not working. version I can use? Oh, 7. You know, this course is about 7, but yes, you can use 6.5, which is or 6.7. I'll give that link to download. Better go for 6.7 because 7.0 is compatible with 6.7 as well. But it's not gonna run all the advanced features of 7, but it's the nearest best. 6.7, if it does not support, then you have Surfraz, you can go for 6.5 as well. Depends on your machine. And my suggestion is, well, I got a machine refurbished, Lenovo W540, and it's like very powerful. So you want to have a refurbished powerful machine, let me know. I know a guy. Many of my students have purchased from that guy already, and they are running big labs. So anyway, but here, Surfraz, let me just give you the link for the previous versions, since your machine is having issues with this. So, but otherwise, better go for 7.0. But obviously, if it's not possible, then we can go for the other versions. So let me just quickly give those other links as well. Try 6.5 and 6.7, both links, type of links I'm giving. Mainly you need, if the Vcenter also doesn't work, then you would need that too. So guys, for others, it's not something that you need to, oh, actually I shared it already, did I? Yeah, so it's already in the downloads folder, but I'll give you, suppose you don't have still access to this, so I'll just copy it there in chat. Okay, so for your chat only I'm able to see. You can click everyone and then everyone will be able to see that. Okay, so here yeah, we were deploying that machine here. So I'm just going to go ahead. For the second machine, it's going for the final reboot. I'll click on top of that and it's still just press enter, that's all. And I'll go I'll put Control Alt to release the mouse and go for Esxi here, which is also ready to be installed. So I'm going to select that virtual screen, press enter here, and then accept, you know the drill now, accept F11, straightforward. Press enter for the one disk that is there, US default, and okay, root password, small abc, 123, without chip 123, down arrow, small abc, capital abc, chip 123, without chip 123, and then press enter, F11. So it's just pretty straightforward. Okay, so the third one is going on. And if I go to the first one, I think it's going to be ready. Like it's we can actually configure it. So if I go to the first one, oh no, final reboot was not done. So okay, final reboot. On first one, I'm gonna go for second one. It's it's kind of restarting. Third one is also on its way. Okay. So any issues you're stuck in, let me know. Okay, there's a final reboot here. Okay, Esxi 3. I'm just switching between the machines now. Whichever is wherever, I'm just pushing it ahead from there. So I'm just switching. So I hope it's not confusing. And as administrators, IT administrators, you should be used to doing multiple tasks there, right? So we're going to just be
Sorry. So where it says for the OneNotes, can you say let's create the other Esxi host? Can you put like parentheses and they say hypervisor?
Oh yes,
I know that it's yeah.
Hosts. Yeah, normally in production environment we call it just hosts, but yes, you're right. It should be much clearer than that. Hyper.
Yeah, because I know it's simple and easy,
Yeah.
but
No, you're right.
just as a reminder for some people like me.
No, you're good. You're right. And please do remind me wherever something is missing. Okay. Hypervisor. ESXi. Oh, so you have access to OneNote. Okay. I thought nobody still has access to OneNote.
Yeah, I have access.
Cool. Okay. ESXi hypervisor, and yeah. So now create 3 hosts, 4 GB RAM done, 2 processors done, VMnet 15 done, hard disk done. Okay, so pretty much they're all reaching this final screen where the final screen that they will the hypervisor ESXi hosts will reach is called DCUI, and that is Direct Console User Interface. What does that mean? That's where you can configure this machine, right? So they just give it a long name, DCUI, and it's a console where you can configure it. The users can configure that machine. So, well, ESXi 1 is ready. It's there. And ESXi 2, it's there as well. 3 is there as well. All done. And so you can see on the DCUI here that there are 2 processors here, 4 GB RAM here, and you can also see that the IP address they got from Dhcp, the IPv4 as well as IPv6. So there we need to, and you can see also here F2, which is customize system. So you want to customize this whole hypervisor. Obviously we need to give static IP. We can't rely on DHCP based IP. We need to give it a name as well. And there's a F12 here for shutdown and restart this host. You can just F12, and if you want to customize, you have to press F2. If you want to enter this area to customize, to make some configurational changes to this hypervisor host, then you can press F2 here. So since all the hosts are ready and they need to be configured, so what do we need to configure there anyway? If I go back to the diagram here, so these hosts need to be configured with, well, first of all, static IP. Second thing, we also need to make sure that we give a host name, computer name, right? So every hypervisor needs to be given a name, and that's the DNS setting has to be checked because DHCP has already given that, so we will just double check if it is correct. And then there is a suffix. We're going to talk about that. What is that, and why is it showing that same domain name as the Windows domain name? So these are the settings we need to do when we enter. So on DCUI, which is Direct Console Interface, or the interface where you set up the hypervisor, that is called DCUI. And this is like directly your setting. You're not remotely connecting, you're directly just going inside the hypervisor. Okay, so how does it look like from inside? What information is there? Let's go ahead inside and explore. Now ESXi 1 is this, so I'm just gonna click on top of this. So I'm on the virtual side now, and I need to press F2 here. So it says here F2, right? So I need to press F2. So in my case, it's a laptop, so function key and F2 key, this sends this message. So it says, oh, okay, who comes here? So I'm saying I'm root. I'm the top user account here for this hypervisor. And the password, during the installation, I put the class password, so small abc, capital ABC, shift123, without shift123. So root is the most powerful account here in this machine, and the password that we gave during the installation. So I'm just gonna press enter. So it's gonna go inside, and we can configure a hypervisor here. So as I mentioned in the diagram as well, what are we going to configure? So it's going to be just the network side of it, but these are all the options. There is configure password, lockdown mode. I'm going to mention later what it is. Configure management network, restart management network, test management network. What is management network? All the network configuration is inside management network area. Network restore options. If you have configured something in the network, you've taken a backup and you want to restore those settings. Then configure keyboard, troubleshooting options, view system logs. Logs are those files which are kind of text files that have all the events that had happened on the system with a timestamp. Like last night, hypervisor restarted, so it's gonna have it in a log file that at 11 p.m. Hypervisor started, and so the event name, what happened, and then that hypervisor. So all these will be saved in log files. Okay, so Fraz says only 6.5 works. Will that be okay, or should I buy a new one? Well, that will not be okay. Even 6.7 will not be okay, Sarfraz. But for now, if you want to use that machine 6.5, just go ahead, but better buy a new one and faster. So my suggestion is that, again, because it's for the career, it will always be useful for you. So go for any gamer laptop or desktop. Okay, so for now it might work, but this will not be okay. Okay, so here, okay, sure, call me after the class. So here we have system logs, and then view system information. That is information about the serial number of this and SSL thumbprint, licenses evaluation. Now this thumbprint normally is a self-signed certificate thumbprint that is given to it, and then there is reset system configuration. So if you want to reset the whole configuration, whatever you've configured up there, so then you can go for the factory defaults again. Well, let's go up to this configure management, right? So this is where we need to configure everything for now for this hypervisor. So I'm going to click configure management network, and I'm going to press enter on top of that. This one, I'm going to press enter on top of that. So once we go there, so it says shows network adapters, and you can see that there is only one network adapter. Obviously, there is one network adapter for now. Later, we're going to add a lot of network adapters here. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to tell you why. VMNIC 0 means physical network. So if it was a Dell physical server, or a HP physical server, or IBM physical server, so it would show, it would have still shown VMNIC 0. So it calls the physical network card of a physical machine as VMNIC. We have just one, and this Esxi hypervisor thinks that it is on a physical machine while it is actually on a VMware workstation here. Okay, if I go down here, there's VLAN option, and we're going to talk about that when we talk about virtual switches. And if you want to go for this is where we want to go now, IPv4 configuration, right? So if you see this on the right side, it's 200.50 and the subnet mask is this, and default gateway is this. So I need to enter this configuration. So I'm going to press enter on top of this IP configuration now. So when I press enter, so it comes up like this, and it says there, you want to disable? No. You want to use DHCP or dynamic information? No. You set static IP? Yes, that's what we want to do, right? So once we are on this, we need to press the spacebar to select this option. Spacebar on the keyboard, I selected. Not only that, we need to change this 50. 50 was given by DHCP. We want to give here, what do we want to give here? If we go to the diagram, we want to give this 2 here. Then we're going to go to the next one, 3. Next one, 4, right? So we need to give this. But you can see that the rest of the IP information is correct. Subnet mask, gateway, preferred DNS, everything is actually correct. Why? Because the DHCP has already given that information. All we need to change here is now just the address 50. We're going to change it to 2 because we want it not to be dependent on DHCP. I'm going to press the down arrow key here, right? I need to just go to the 50. I need to just change the 50, that's all. So I'm going to press the right arrow key on the keyboard. Then I'm going to press backspace once and backspace twice. And I'm going to put 200.2. Or you can just remove that full IP and 192.168.200.2. You can write it that way as well. Okay, so that's it. It's a static IP now with all the rest of the IP address configuration same, right? So I'm going to press enter to save it. If you press enter, it's going to save it. If you press escape, it's not going to save it. So we need to press enter to save it. Enter. Okay, now I'm going to go down to the IPv6. I'm not configuring anything on IPv6. Then I'm going to go down to DNS configuration. And I'm going to press enter. I need to go inside this DNS configuration. So on top of it, I'm going to press enter. Again, first thing is, yes, we don't want it to be coming automatically from DHCP, so I'll press the down arrow key and press the space bar on the keyboard to select it. Second thing is the DNS IP correct? Yes, it is correct. So we don't need to make any change. Do we have an alternate DNS? No, we don't. No change here as well. But yes, we want to give a host name. We need to change. This is a computer name. This is the machine name here, right? Host name. So remember that the host name we decided in the diagram as Esxi01. So we're gonna give Esxi01, then second machine 2, third machine 3. Okay, so I'm back here and Esxi01. Now make sure the spellings are correct, or whatever you write here. Suppose some students by mistake write here EXSI01. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that what you write here, you need to, we're going to create A records in DNS later. The spellings there in the DNS should be the same what you wrote here, whatever spellings you wrote here, right? So ESXI01 is what I wrote here, and I'm going to press enter to save it. Enter, right? And then I'm going to go down here to custom DNS suffixes, and here custom DNS suffixes and Netplus.local. So I am going to well, I'm going to enter here first of all. Enter. Now DHCP told with DHCP actually mentioned this, and hey, our domain name is this. So yes, that's Windows DHCP, and suppose it was a Windows 10. So for Windows machine, yes, we need to have a domain, but do we need domain for this hypervisors as well? Yes, we do. Why? Does it join the Active Directory? No, it does not. Then why Active Directory domain is showing here? So, well, the reason for that is that, let me just quickly create that diagram here. So, suppose you have a Toronto branch here, Tor, and then you have a New York branch here, NY. So, and maybe you have a Tokyo branch here, right? TO. So, TOK. So what happens is that you have some Windows machines and hypervisors here, some Windows machine file servers, Active Directory, web servers, and then hypervisors here as well, and some hypervisors here as well. So normally FQDN really matters a lot. When you are tracking machines, your monitoring software are coming up with machine names there. So it's a lot of hassle is avoided when you have proper naming convention given to the machine. So suppose this is a file server, so FS, so your full domain name is what? Netplus, right? Netplus .local, right? So this Toronto branch can have actually tor.netplus netplus.local, right? And ny would have the full domain name as ny.netplus, right? And when you go for Tokyo, so you get the point here, Tokyo.netplus, right? So what happens is that when you start naming the machines, so there's a file server, so fs.tor.netplus, and then there is fs, there's a file server here as well, and there's a file server here as well. But you know that which file server is located where, because the fully qualified domain name is fs.tor, and this is fs.ny, and this is fs.tokyo, right? So you would know right away, oh, we're talking about the Toronto file server here. So that's the same thing here. We did not give any city name, but normally you can give that branch names here as well, that it's downtown.netplus.local. So it will be added with the machine name, which is Esxi01. That's the machine name we gave. Esxi01.downtown. So downtown Tor, suppose that's the name. DTTOR. Downtown Tor.netplus. So anyone who knows Esxi01 and oh, it's in the downtown branch in Toronto, okay. Or if we go for ESXi, maybe there's a ESXi hypervisor here as well in Tokyo, and that is ESXi 10, and there's a ESXi 5 here. So those ESXi 5 and 10 does not tell me that actually 5 is in New York. Suppose it's a big environment and you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, or 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, are there 10, 20 ESXi here. Big environments really have issues then if you don't put the naming convention correct. So ESXi 5.ny would tell you it's a New York hypervisor. ESXi 1.tor would tell you. So you can see that the naming convention really works. And second thing is file server.tor, and then file server is a Windows file server, but then ESXi is not a Windows product, it's a VMware product, but it's also ending with the same fully qualified domain name. Why? So the thing is that it then lets you know that all this ending, this is called suffix, ending name of the domain, right? So when they are same for all the machines, first of all, it looks very organized. Second thing, you would just locate it by just the name that, oh, okay, now we're talking about the branch in Toronto. Maybe there are 5 branches in Toronto. So your domain name or suffix would change according to that. So you can locate the resource right away. So hopefully we understand that this suffix is so important in big environments, and this is just one, we have just one environment. Otherwise, normally there are so many branches in a big company, so they do then put the names and they do add the branch names or some branch code there. 012.netplus. So 012, when you go to the book, oh, okay, so that's the New York branch, and 013, oh, that's the Tokyo branch. Sometimes they code it as well. Anyway, so this is the explanation of why there is a suffix here and why it is so important that the suffix must be here, right? So since the suffix has been taken up by hypervisor, thanks to Dhcp living here, from Dhcp it received here in the hypervisor the suffix, so we're going to keep it as is. So no changes here. I'll press escape here because I did not change any. I don't have to save anything. I'm going to press escape to go out of here. Oh, okay. First I'll have to select the screen. Okay, now everything seems to be okay on this particular hypervisor. So DNS suffix, yes, okay. If we press arrow up, DNS configuration, IP, check, good. Esxi01, check, also okay. IPv6, nothing to configure. IPv4, 2.2, check, we're good. Okay, subnet was good, default gateway is good. So we are good with this configuration. If we have configured this configuration for Esxi01, we need to save it all. How do we save all this configuration? So what we do is we press escape once now. Before I was saying press enter to save, but once you're done with each window, Now you press escape once. As soon as you do that, it asks you, hey, do you want to save it? So yes. Then we need to just simply press Y on the keyboard to save all what we have changed on the DCUI, Direct Console User Interface. This is the interface of the hypervisor where you configure the hypervisor. So I'm going to press yes, and it saves everything now. So this is how we're going to configure the Esxi2 and Esxi3 as well. So let's go for 2, and same drill. We're going to go down to F2 here. So I'm just going to select the screen and press FNN, F2. I'll go inside the DCUI from here as well. So I will say 1, 2, 3, without 1, 2, 3. Enter. And we're going to configure the same way we configured there, and I configure here and the next one as well. So I'm going to go press the down arrow key on the keyboard, and I'll reach the management network. That's where we need to do all the configuration. So I'm going to press enter here. Network adapters, yes, that's just VMNet 0. That's the physical adapter of this hypervisor. And if I go down here, down arrow, there's IPv4. I need to go inside this section to remove the 51 and change it to 3. So I'm going to press enter. I have to select static IP here, this one. So down arrow, and then press spacebar to select it. Spacebar. And then I'm going to go down arrow further, and then right arrow to go at the right side, and then press backspace once, then press backspace second time, and put what 2, right? Oops. Oh, I set the wrong one. Yeah. So it's 2. Okay. Once that is written, then we need to press enter to save it. Enter. If I go back to the diagram here, so yes, Esxi1 is actually 2, Esxi2 is 3. Oh, what have I done? That's wrong. Because Win01 is 1, right? So Esxi1 is 2. Did I give Esxi1 as 2? Oh yes, I gave Esxi1 as 2. So Esxi2 should be 3. Okay, it's 3 here, right? Now I'm going to save it. Enter. Nothing in IPv6. Then I go down arrow key, the DNS configuration. I'll just press enter and go down here, press spacebar, and 2.1. So host name is ESXi02. The second Esxi, right? ESXi02. And I'm going to press enter. Then I'm going to go down here, custom DNS suffixes. So I already see that, yeah, the ending part of the domain is the same, so I don't need to go inside and check it. It's just showing here, right? So I'm okay. So if I check back, DNS configuration above, yeah, 201 check, Esxi01, Esxi02 actually check, and IPv4 2.3 check. We're good. So I need to save all this. What do? Press escape once now, and then type Y on the keyboard. Now it is safe. Okay, I'll be doing the same thing on the third one. So I'll click that third one here, and I'll select the screen, and you can see that it's saying press F2. So FN F2 in my laptop, down arrow key here, small abc, capital ABC, shift 1, 2, 3, without shift 1, 2, 3, press enter. Enter password, then down arrow key here, management network. So now you know the drill. I need to go inside here as well. Network adapters, IPv4 configuration, right? and I'm gonna press enter. Same drill, down arrow key, press space bar to select it, down arrow further because we need to change the 52, right arrow key on the keyboard, backspace once, backspace twice, and seriously, why am I getting confused here? It's supposed to be 4, right? Okay, it's 4, but the Esxi is 3. Name is Esxi 3, but IP is 4, so I type 4, and I'll press enter to save it all, right? Enter. Then I'll go down to V6. Nope, nothing here. DNS configuration. I'm going to go inside here, and first of all, use the following DNS server. Press spacebar here. Yes, the following server is correct, but the host name is not correct. So Esxi03, whose IP address is 4, but it's because it's the machine number 4. That's why. But it's Esxi3 because it's the hypervisor number 3. Esxi03. I'm going to press enter. Then yes, DNS suffix is good. We're good. So if I just double check here, DNS configuration check, Esxi03, 200.1, good. And 200.4, yep, everything check. We're good. So press escape and type Y. Now this is also good and done. So if we go down to our environment, so here, yeah, this is all done, IP is done, all this is all done, IP done, and this all done, IP done, right? But if you want to access in the network, over the network, these hypervisors by name, you need to create inside the DHCP the A record and pointer record, PTR records of these hosts. I'm trying to make a comma here. Really. A and pointer record you need to create for these. So when those A records are created, when you type in browser esxi01.netplus.local, it will just simply connect you remotely to its management screen. So not the DCUI, another screen that we need to see. Yuga says, don't forget to update your OneNote. Oh yes, that's another good reminder. So I haven't written it here. Oh yeah, so let's do it. Okay, so here, you know what? Now the next step in the DCUI, we configured everything, right? So the next step is, in fact, let me just put that diagram quickly here. And let's add the A and PTR records of the 3 hypervisors, right, in our DNS server inside Win01. Okay, right, let's add the A and pointer records of the 3 hypervisors in our DNS server inside Win01. So that's our next step, and let's do it before the time finishes. Yay! Okay, so I'll just go for that. DCUI. Okay, so yep, we need to access all hypervisors by name. So I'll tab, go there. Now we need to carefully put that Esxi1's IP is 200.2, Esxi2's IP is 200.3, Esxi3's IP is 200.4. Because of the overall machine numbers, the IP addresses are different than the names. So I'm going to go for Win01 here, and I'm going to log in because the DNS lives here. So I'm going to select Control-Alt-Delete, and small ABC, capital ABC, SHIP123, without SHIP123. Okay, so process, fix the issue, this 67. Oh, man, way to go, man. Way to go. Amazing. Nice t-shirt. Okay, so we're going to go for DNS. I'm going to click the tools here, and I'm going to click DNS. And yes, we need to introduce the DNS with the newly added hypervisors. So how do we do that? I'm going to go to forward lookup zone, and this is a manual process. So remember that when you join a Windows 10 machine to the domain, its host name and IP automatically gets added here, but it's a non-Microsoft resource. So forward lookup zone, if we go there and then we go to the actual zone name netplus.local, so hypervisors are not mentioned here. Force this on. Okay, cool. Way to go, man. Okay, so here, netplus.local, I'm going to right click here and go to new host A or AAA. So in order to create a new host A record, this is the way. You just right click on the zone and then create a new host A record. And then it asks that, okay, what is the name of the machine? What is the IP of the machine? So you just have to type the name. Esxi01. Remember that the spellings must be exactly correct. E6i1. Okay, if I go down here, okay, I'll press escape further to go out of here as well. So the machine name now is Esxi01. Yeah, Esxi01. Okay. Just type this and you can see that it's already filling up the fully qualified domain name FUDN and the IP, which is 192.168.200.2. So, and you can see already that create associated pointer record. So it's going to create its IP name pointer record in reverse lookup zone automatically. Okay, is that 200.2 here? So E6i1, yes, 200.2 here. So we confirm that. We're good, right? I'm going to click add host, and it says the host E6i1 is successfully added, was successfully added. So I'm just going to press OK, but the screen didn't go away. So this means that, hey, do you want to add further host? Yes, I do. So I'll keep the screen up and go for the second one, which is Esxi02. The spellings have to be correct here. Otherwise, your by name access will never work if spelling here is wrong or it's different from the spelling there you put there. So if I go to E6i2 here, press escape, and it's Esxi02. This is how I wrote, and 200.3. Okay, I'll go back here. And Esxi02, this is all I need to write. It automatically adds it to the suffix. And 192.168.200.3. So this is the name, this is the IP, and that is create associated pointer record. Yes, we're going to check that later, that did all the records here also got created or not. I'm going to click add host here. Was created successfully. Okay, press OK, and the window is still there, and we are also not done. So we're going to go for the third one, Esxi03. And if I go there, press escape, select it and press escape, then Esxi03 and 200.4. Okay, it's better to cross check. Don't assume anything in IT. Assume there's a saying for assume. Some of you may have heard about that. As you and me. So assume. So anyway, 192.168.200.4. Okay, Esxi03 200.4. Create a pointer record as well. Okay, we're kind of done now. So add host. Okay, and now we can finally press done. So the 3 extra hypervisors name and IP information has been added here, which is called A record or host A record, and their pointer record, were they added there automatically or not? I'm going to click reverse lookup zone, expand that, go inside. Yes, so their IP and name information had been automatically added here as well. Now our name resolution for the hypervisors is good. Okay, now what we do, we're pretty much out of time now. So the rest of the configurations are, so next episode, okay, no, next time. So we're going for, install Google Chrome and connect to all hypervisors from the browser, explore VMs, storage, networking, monitoring, admin sections of a hypervisor. So this is in next class, and then there will be subsections explore, and there are subsections for that too. In VMs, we need to create a VM with OS inside, and then for storage, add a second disk and create a second data store. So then networking, add 8 more NICs to each hypervisor, making them total 9 NICs. So lots of tasks coming, and then after that, when that is done, then we are ready to go for, let's deploy our main software, which is VCSA on Esxi01. That's where it gets more interesting, but we're going to explore the inside of the hypervisor. Suppose in the company there are hundreds of hypervisors, so you understand in depth one hypervisor, you can understand obviously and control all the hundreds of hypervisors as well. So we need to reach till here, so hopefully we can. So let's go ahead and I'll if there are any questions, let me know. Otherwise you can shut down the environment and recreate. Wait for the video till tomorrow, you should be getting it, and if not, then you can follow up on email or on WhatsApp. And also just follow the video, and if throughout the week you have any issues, message me with the error screenshot on WhatsApp or on my email. And if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, see you next Saturday.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everyone. Bye.